This episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Cookie Nurse of Ultros, X-Sucky No Sucky of Goblin, and Seance Sensei of Exodus. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio.
Take your sword skills to the next level with the official Xenos-approved Kofefe Samurai.
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break
With your hosts, Aniero.
Now behold the horror you have wrought.
Kahlo.
I said don't take your clothes off.
Juxtaposition.
I don't get it.
Ascalia.
Holy shit, totally forgot about him.
And Nika.
Oh my god.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio. Thanks for joining us today. Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Appreciate having you along. We are excited to be here today. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. Some people thought I sounded sad when I introduced the show today.
Well,
I don't know what that was.
I mean, you are sad usually.
About everything in general and nothing in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. But the other thing is I think the other week I may have strained my voice because it started going out on Wednesday, and that was
sure did.
Oh, that was frustrating.
And we've already ruled out the return of mono, right?
No, we haven't totally ruled that. I have been sleeping a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
You haven't been kissing weird Tinder girls, have you?
Nope.
Okay.
Sure haven't.
All right.
No.
Weird Tinder guys?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Although, I mean, you know, no
Tinder dogs.
Is there Tinder for dogs?
I hope so. If there's not, there will be shortly.
Why do you hope so? That's a weird thing to hope for.
That is a really weird thing to
My corgi just swiped right. That's
I worry
weird.
for your sanity at this point.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. We are live from Eorzea. Let's kick it on over to our Eorzean studios. Thanks for joining us live in Eorzea. You can join us on the Sargentanis on the Sargentanis server if you like. That's the Goblet of 5th Ward plot number 30. And you can do like this gentleman is doing and give us weird lap dances that no one wants. Like unwanted.
Nobody wants those.
Unwanted lap dances.
Oh.
It looks more like he's shitting on you.
What?
I mean, she's not wrong.
Whose lap?
Juxta's.
I'm not.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
yeah. I'm not.
All right, that's fine.
I'm not really sure.
Well, Juxta might be paying for that. We don't know.
Yeah. Actually,
That's not true.
let's ask him.
Juxta's here.
Yeah, because he's here. Juxta joining us over Zoom today, and which is unfortunate because you can't drop drops over Zoom.
No, I can't. So I don't know what I'm going to do with myself this whole episode.
You know, you can just play them off YouTube into your mic.
No, he might have to meaningfully
don't
contribute
do that.
another way.
Don't do that. Here's the thing. I need to ask something because Juxta, you write some of these opening bits that.
Yeah, does nobody watch the fucking news?
No,
or at least Twitter.
I just but I mean, like,
I had to go back and look at it though because I couldn't understand what he was saying.
you couldn't have even like finished off like you didn't even explain to him how to read it. Like it was just like I'm sitting here. I mean, I'm glad that the chat room got it. Somebody had to, but like I don't know. I feel like you're phoned it in on this one.
Well, I'm sorry. I guess I kind of assumed that my colleagues would be up on the news, considering how
No, we
horrible
understand what Covfefe is, but
Yeah,
it
no.
wasn't
It
even
just-
a full sentence. Like, at least the Daily Show
yeah,
didn't even read.
That is the point. Trump's tweet was not a full sentence.
I just didn't. It didn't
exactly
even.
the point.
I don't know.
Do I have to explain the entire joke to you people?
It was just a
I
bad
get it.
joke.
Just
Like,
didn't
like,
read,
like
didn't
this
read.
is something that a Scalia would have came up with.
Didn't scan in the room. Sorry, bud. That was a swing. That was a swing and a miss. I may have to take this this responsibility onto myself.
Well, you're not gonna do it.
No.
That just means we're not doing it anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly what that means. Is that those suddenly go away. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody is nearly as talented as I am when it comes to these things. So
Hey, I was defending you, but I'm not going that far.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. Appreciate having you along. We're excited to talk about something exclusive. We've had the Patreon T-shirt for a while, and that was really cool because seeing a first of all, the image that Max V did for us was super incredible, and we appreciated her hard work. But now we've been kind of considering what to do for our next another T-shirt, we've thought about should we do it as like a Patreon exclusive? Should we do another? I mean, and we should. I think eventually we're going to do another tier of Patreon stuff, but a lot of other streamers will use this service called T-Fury. And they do some really cool Teespring, and they do some really cool
like limited runs of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so we decided, you know what, we're gonna get in on that racket.
That's right. Yeah, we reached out to our friend Apple Nectar, and what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring you something that was very Limit Break Radio, right? That really reached to the core of who we are, and at the same time, we wanted to, I think, fully canonize one of our, characters that maybe he hasn't really gotten the kind of spotlight that he deserves.
Right. I mean, like you spend long enough in the Limit Break Radio Twitch chat, and you'll eventually come to understand and love the Rumpcock.
The Rumpcock.
The Rumpcock is
That's right.
Is like not many people understand what it is when they see that little green little goblin,
that little blobby thing,
that little blob. But it's definitely become like one of the the way that people show love is through Rumpcock.
That's right.
He's our mascot now.
Yeah, if there was ever going to be a mascot of LBR, it would be him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, he now represents the first division in the LB Army.
That's right. So just to give you guys a preview here.
This is the patch for the LB Army 1st Division Rumpcock Battalion. And we're going to be offering this exclusively through Teespring. Yep, that's right.
So I don't know how that whole campaign thing works.
We will figure it out.
But we'll have more information on it.
Depending on how well this goes, though, if it's well received, we might be looking to create additional, branches of the LB Army and giving you guys a chance to sort of represent, different sorts of our characteristics, I guess.
Yeah. So if you are one of the LB Army tried and true, then be on the lookout for more information about the Teespring campaign that we're going to be doing, and you can get the official Rumpcock Battalion T-shirt. That's pretty cool.
But not this week.
Not this week.
Because we have to savor this, and you have to want it.
LBR.
Oh boy. Oh good. Oh good.
Oh god.
No, leave it to Ryuichi.
Thanks. Jesus.
Thank you.
That was a little bit excessive, but okay.
LBR.
We like your enthusiasm. Anyway, so last week when we were talking about live letter, what is it, 35? Was it 35? I think it was 35.
That sounds
30
right.
million.
We got a lot of.
I heard you guys had a great show.
We got a big. big response from the audience calling in. A lot of people had a lot of varying opinions. We heard from Joe Never on that episode. And we're going to continue that conversation here today because, we only got about halfway through the notes. And then this week, we actually saw the embargo lift from the media tour, the Stormblood Media Tour. So,
White mage can be TFO. Astrologians for life. Oh. And hashtag juxta. Oh, wait, BXLBR realm.
Okay.
Wait, what is BTFO?
I don't really know.
Can bitch the fuck out.
Beat the fuck off.
Interesting.
That is hardcore masturbating.
All right. Sort of like what this Lalafell's doing right now.
Oh,
Yeah. Can we just not mention him ever?
It's kind of hard because the camera focuses on him a lot.
Wow, Aniero just said he's kind of hard from that Lalafell. Creepy.
The idle cam favors people who are doing movements, and he's nonstop moving.
I know. And the fun thing is that the software is having a tough time keeping up. So we were having some frame rate issues because the way that we set up our stream to do the show is so it minimizes the amount of heat being produced in the studio. So thanks, Guy, whoever you are, for really disrupting everything. And if there's frame rate loss, that's your fault. So appreciate that. Anyway, be on the lookout for that Teespring campaign. We'll have more information about that next week. The embargo lifted on the Stormblood
early access.
Yeah,
thing.
the Stormblood Media Tour.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk to Fusion X just following the news to get some feedback about what hands-on for that was like. So
I love that no one believes us when we say we have a guest anymore.
We do, though.
I know.
We do, but no one believes it when we say it. Everyone's like, all right.
I mean, it's not as good as our last guest, but I mean, we'll make do.
This isn't a special guest. It's just a guest.
Few things are as good as our last guest. I mean, to be honest, he was fucking amazing.
Okay, our last guest was actually NPC, so don't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, okay.
Oh,
still stands.
All of that praise still stands, but yeah. Anyway.
But less sarcastically.
Yeah.
Now we just mean it.
Just take the eye rolls out of there, and then you'll figure that you'll be about really where we feel. Anyway.
Yeah, we've actually had a really good run of guests up until now. So, I guess we had to break the streak sometime.
Rude.
Anyway, 2 weeks remain until the release of Stormblood.
I don't know if we're gonna make it, guys.
No. This is it. This is the last episode. We're done.
We have E3
I
because
saw my credit card was charged, so we better not be done.
Anyway, 2 weeks left until Stormblood.
coming soon.
Yeah, people are getting excited, and rightfully so. Early access starts just the other side of E3.
Can we just have the battalion patch on a pair of pants or better yet shorts?
Right on the butt of the shorts.
Oh, okay. I don't know. We're first. It's going to start as the Teespring,
T-shirt, yeah,
right? And it's going to be exclusive there. If we let 6 or 8 months pass, and then that shirt or that design happens to fall into our cash, aka Patreon shop, then I don't know. It seems like the Final Fantasy XIV audience is really willing to kind of put up with that sort of behavior. So maybe maybe Hasio, maybe that is going to happen at some point.
Outcry for it, sure.
Yeah, if you guys want it enough, if you ask us enough, then yeah, if there's enough requests for it, I think we can make it happen.
The chat is calling for eventually to have these kinds of things literally just put out as like patches that they can sew onto stuff.
That's
a cool idea.
Yeah, and that's something that we've discussed. Again, depending on the reception and how much something like that would cost us, we are looking into those types of possibilities.
I definitely think
it's not going to be like an LBR patch, as in like an update to it that's just free for everyone.
Yeah, no, I think Well, what? No, I think we're going to look into like a fully embroidered patch like you would for like a military style patch. It's not that expensive. I know that there's automated ways to
Probably,
do that.
yeah.
No, there is.
Yeah.
I know that there is. So anyway, be on the lookout for that. That may eventually fall into the Patreon shop. But if you like the design, we encourage you to get on that for the exclusive Teespring campaign. All right. So a couple of pieces to note. Is this wow? Geez. Okay. It looks like our LBR news and FF14 news all got rolled into one. So you know what I'm?
Oh no. The FF14 news is under. I don't know why that was put at the beginning. But underneath all this something awful stuff is where the actual LBR news.
I see.
Or the actual
the FF14 news.
Yes.
Yeah. That's weird.
I'm more excited for LBR patch than Stormblood.
Jeez.
What?
You're not alone.
Hey, you're not alone. I agree.
Oh my god, we have fat chocoheads making out. I'm so confused about our audience in studio.
I have the weirdest boner right now.
The fanfics are making their way into the game.
Oh no.
Anyway, so just real quick before we get into the news, happy birthday, Susan Calloway.
Woo,
Susan! Hi, Susan, our best friend.
You can check her out, SusanCalloway.com, and her new single remix of Time for This, which is a song that I was lucky enough to watch her perform live when I got to record her in studio. So,
nice.
Very good song. Remix is available now over at SusanCalloway.com. We'll get to Juxta, I know you wanted to talk about something awful here because some of these comments are great, but I think we're going to save this for the end if we can help it. So let's check out what's going on in FF14 news.
This is a limit-breaking news update.
Mere days before the launch of Stormblood, E3 will be taking place in Los Angeles, and wouldn't you know it, Yosheep will be in attendance. Along with Yosheep comes the Susano Battle Challenge, and for any adventurers who can lay waste to the new authored Primal, a t-shirt shall be their prize.
Yeah!
This is bullshit.
Woo! I'm going to make sure to bring it back and rub it in your face, Juxta.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We're getting t-shirts. Ha ha ha.
Hold up.
Okay,
Juxta,
no, you're part of the fucking problem.
Juxta, did you went out to Las Vegas with us, didn't you? And how's your T-shirt that you got out there?
Wait, that's
how's
not
your Battle
fair.
Challenge T-shirt?
That's not fair. He did get a hoodie, a zip-up hoodie, right? Juxta, me and you, we got our zip-up hoodies from Las Vegas, right? Juxta?
And he's gone.
Didn't we?
Did he really drop?
No.
Oh,
No,
I was really hoping that he would.
There's a 50-50 chance, first of all, that they don't let us anywhere near this. If they see us and they're like, get the fuck out.
We don't know that they know what we look like.
No, they know what we look like.
There will
Okay,
be,
see,
Well,
here's
definitely the media people know.
it's going to be like a liquor store. We're going to walk up to it. There's just be like a big wall with our faces posted on it and a big like circle
Do
that
not
says
let these
no.
people anywhere near booth.
Akmorn has assured me that they don't hate us.
I don't know.
But has
They
she
just
assured you
don't care
that
for us very
lately?
much.
Have they been listening in the last 4 or 5 episodes? Because I don't know. They may
Oh, okay, maybe.
they may hit us now.
they may have changed their mind.
She gave me that assurance as well at FanFest. And that was a different time.
Yeah. FanFest was a long time.
Yep.
But if they didn't hate us by
moons ago.
FanFest, nothing we've said since then has been worse than what we've said before. We've
That's
always been
debatable.
critical of the game.
I mean, yes, but I don't know.
I've been really critical of the game recently.
I don't see it being any higher level than some of our other episodes.
Maybe.
When
Okay, see,
Nika's defending it.
I'm just saying. I don't think that's the perception that our audience necessarily has. At least
I'm just saying, this E3 thing, it just shows that SE is catering to the casuals who don't actually play 14 and not to their longtime veterans who went to FanFest.
Oh, really?
That's the connection I'm making.
Oh, really? It's the E3 move. It's not the fucking advertising on fucking packages of Little Debbie or, the...
Whoa, Little Debbie would be one thing, but this is like Little Debbie -1.
whatever the fuck it is, or the
Spartan brand.
goddamn Hardee's cups or whatever it is. Like, okay.
Carl Jr., gosh!
Same, I think that's the same company.
Same company, yeah.
Same company. Dickweed. Anyway.
Okay, but distinctions. I'm just saying this is just more further proof and evidence that veterans are garbage.
Mrs. Freshly, that's what it was.
Oh, wow. Mrs. Freshly.
I've never heard of Mrs. Freshly.
In addition, on June
It's sort of like, oh my god.
Mrs. Fleshly? Wow.
No, it's a little bit
That's
like
the name of the action figure.
it's like that. It's like that. I think it's Doug Benson joke where he's like, we didn't have famous Amos cookies growing up. No, we had heinous anus cookies. That's what that's like. It's like an off-brand. Ugh, like that doesn't even sound appetizing.
It didn't look appetizing
Mrs.
either.
Freshly.
I don't want to eat a regular Little Debbie, let alone Little Debbie's little sister.
That's
Wait,
not
that didn't
little.
come out right.
That's
Crazy.
You know,
No.
That's Little Debbie's
Debbie's
mom.
little sister.
That's
But-
Little Debbie's mom.
No. This is Little Debbie's like estranged great aunt. That she's like 68. Her and her mom had a falling out like 15 years ago, and they haven't talked since.
And she has autism before it was a thing.
Yeah,
I think that's been a thing for a long time.
No, but this is the version where it exhibited the behavior, the symptoms exhibited themselves as collecting massive amounts of cats. Just so many cats.
In addition, on June 13th from E3, Yoshida will be doing a letter from the producer live about the launch of the expansion. So look forward to it.
That's not surprising.
Yeah. How long has it been since anything new has been added to the FF14 cash shop? Too long, apparently, because now you can get yourself some Fuga attires. Perfect for those long weave-filled nights.
We can get Fuga attire?
Fuga attire.
Oh, I'm less interested.
Is that like a smaller dick or something?
No, but it's perfect for those long weave-filled nights of ERP and Kugane, as well as an emote for Eastern stretching. And finally, an authentic Senior Sabatender trophy. Because, in the East, they stretch different from how we stretch in the West, guys.
I still want Fudo attire.
I know you do.
Pretty sure that's somehow racist, although I'm not entirely sure how.
No, it's not racist. You're just stretching to the east no matter which way your character is facing.
Oh.
I like that.
If you want to stretch to the west, like if you're in a corner and you have to go west, then you can't use the stretch emote.
So
it just doesn't work.
Here's the items.
They're dumb.
They are. I'm not into the robes. They're real. I mean,
they would make sense if we were going to like some kind of like eastern place like Doma in this expansion, but since we're not, it's like kind of like, what's the point?
But that's...
Oh, wait, we're doing that, so I guess it would make sense to put them in the cache. Wait, no, it doesn't make sense either. Jesus, man.
Square-Enix needs to make money, guys.
Juxta, you sound like you have an axe to grind today.
Juxta has been uncharacteristically angry at this game all week.
I think he's taking a little bit too much of daddy.
What?
Phrasing.
No, that was right.
That was right. Phrasing. That's what Carlos said.
I don't know. That stretching emote really seems like it's worth laying down cash for.
Not as good as the death emote, obviously.
Bend down, grab your ankles, and hang on.
Oh, boy. United Kingdom players rejoice. You've got a chance to win some stuff. Any O2 mobile customers registered for Priority can enter the competition by visiting the Priority app and clicking on the FF14 offer button. Prizes include a Stormblood-themed PS4 Pro and 5 tickets to the fan event Night Before the Storm. You can also enter to win one of 50 digital copies of Final Fantasy XIV, the Complete Edition. Jump potions not included, so you will actually have to play the game. You can also enter to win a trip for two to Tokyo, Japan, which includes a bunch of weeby activities such as a samurai, swordsmanship, and shuriken workshop at a traditional dojo with an expert sensei. But that's not all.
Oh,
you can
man.
also sensei. You can also register to obtain special in-game item codes, which include the original Fat Chocobo mount, housemaid attire, and butler attire. Yay!
Hey, original Fat Chocobo mount. Didn't I have to do something to get that?
Spend money on Amazon.
The original Fat Chocobo mount?
I thought the original Fat Chocobo came with a collector's edition.
Yeah. That was the
No, not that. That's just the Fat Chocobo mount. The original one is a white one, which
the white one. He came with the Amazon promotion.
Okay. I'm less
the
mad.
original Fat Chocobo and he's white, but he's not actually the original one. I don't get it either.
Okay, I'm less mad now.
Yeah, okay.
Food and gear. Food and gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, we feel the same way.
Please.
same.
SE has also released all you need to know about Stormblood Early Access, and it's all very simple. Yes, quite simple indeed. First, you must have pre-ordered Stormblood. Early access starts Friday, June 16th at 2 a.m. PDT, 4 days before the initial release. You must have your pre-order bonus code for your preferred platform. You must then have registered your early access code or your PSN promo code. Now from here, depending on if you play via PC, Mac, Steam, or PS4, you must follow 7 to 9 steps, which we will not outline here because it's complicated and annoying. So proceed to your closest lodestone link and research it for your goddamn self.
Fucking why?
Getting my health insurance wasn't that complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't.
Because they took it away.
Well, not yet, but they will shortly.
And
Wow,
lastly, Square Enix partnered up with Storm London to create some fantastic Stormblood watches. There's a contest, UK only, on their website where you can win a Stormblood gaming and watch set.
Who wears a
Game and
watch
watch
anymore?
set?
Yeah, Jux, a game and watch set. That's right.
Oh, I love those things. They're great.
You know what? That's a really good question. I don't know anyone that fucking wears a watch anymore.
Yeah, everyone has a phone.
Yeah.
I used to be more on time when I wore a watch, though. I will say that since it's in my phone and I have to reach in my pocket and pull it out and look at the time, I actually lose time a lot easier.
Funny this is brought up because I actually saw, I think it was a Twitch commercial or on YouTube where some dude comes in and gives a watch to like his brother or something. And he's like, this will help you ace that interview. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? No one's going to look at your wrist and be like, oh, that's a great watch. We're hiring you.
You should see the Pokemon watch that they put out for something like $75,000.
I did.
Did you see that?
I did.
What?
It looks like
It's ugly.
it looks like something that you would win out of a fucking like quarter machine.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's awful, and
so
it's so
bad.
expensive.
What does it do that it costs $75,000?
Nothing. It's some fucking, I don't know, dude with a humongous penis made it or something. I don't know what makes this thing so fucking special.
I want to see people try to market their watch that way. It's like, well, I mean, it's an okay watch, but the guy who made it's got like a 17-inch dick. He's crushing that puss all day long. He's gonna shape your womb to his dick. It's weird.
The thing. I don't know what it has to do. I don't know what it has to do with anything. You know what I mean? Like, why is that watch $75,000? Because I don't know.
Can we please start basing prices on the size of people's penises? $5,000? Are you kidding me? Okay, but he has at least 20 inches under there. Whoa, that's a steal.
Jesus Christ, the cost of the show would be incredible. Anyway.
I'm so confused.
Now they know. Well, because you don't have a penis, okay, Nika? It's fine. You don't understand it. We don't have time to mansplain it to you, though, right?
All right. So is that it?
That's all for the news, guys.
Thanks. All right. Anyway, more information over on the Lodestone if you want. All right. Let's bring in Fusion X and let's talk about this media tour.
What an introduction! Let's bring him in.
That's what you got to. That's what you got to follow.
Proper intro.
No. Why?
Fusion X, the creator of the ass box.
Why? No, I'm kidding. Joining us now is Fusion X of Gamer Escape and the Aetheryte Radio podcast. He went out to check out the Stormblood Media tour. Was that the one that we got the invite to? We
did.
Yeah, it is. We were invited the first time we've been invited to something.
That also said, we understand that you live far away, so you know.
I think this means that they don't super hate us.
Maybe.
They did think about us.
It's the first and last time we've ever been invited to anything.
Yeah. Anyway, Fusion, dude, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
What's up?
Hello.
What's going on?
No one has ever been that excited to be a guest on our show. Except for
oh my God, watch Twin Peaks, you dickweed.
I knew he would get it.
Fuck!
It's on the schedule.
I hate all of you so much right now. The fact that I was the only one that got that is...
None of us have seen it.
Sad. It's the most important thing going on television right now. And you're just ignoring it.
Yeah.
You piece of shit. Anyway.
Whatever.
Fusion, welcome to the show. You went out to the media tour and actually got hands-on with Stormblood, and a lot of really interesting revelations about Stormblood coming out of a lot of these interviews. And I think that there's a variety of, there's some positives, and I think, seeing people's hands-on experiences with the way that the battle system is changing has made me a little bit more encouraged about Stormblood, but at the same time, there are some other things about the development that are really, really making me hesitate and really making me wonder what's going on. So, Fusion, we appreciate having you here to kind of shed some light and share your experience of going out to the media tour. So, how was it, man? Like, first of all, like, did you enjoy going out and did Square Enix treat you well?
Well, yeah, I mean, they always treat me well whenever we go out to something like this. I mean, San Francisco is always a little dumpy, in my opinion, but I think even Foxconn said something, along those lines where they went to I think it was Hamburg for the EU media tour, and he had a tweet or something that's like, I feel like I can walk around all right over here or something. Like,
wow, that's not subtle shade. That's wow.
Well, any big downtown areas you get into,
Yeah,
that's just how things are here.
Aren't they from like Tokyo, the most downtown of downtown areas?
Yeah, it's like downtown. That's
But there's so many.
only
Like
downtown.
Tokyo is so big, and there's so many different districts that every part of Tokyo is completely different. I don't know if you can really compare them, honestly. Like to America's big cities, and you just think of like low income children's schools failing and sad people. Like I don't think it's the same as.
You're not Nika Kyanian, voice of the future.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, really glad that those are the things that you're instilling in children.
No, that's
Yay.
that's unfortunately
I'm
what's
kidding.
in the forefront of big cities in our country.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Anyway, so getting hands on for Stormblood, you got to check out a lot of different stuff. You've got a hands-on article posted up over at Gamer Escape. So if anyone wants to check that out, make sure you go check out gamerescape.com. But let's talk about some of your experiences getting hands-on with Stormblood. What were you most impressed by?
I think what I really liked is I liked some of the aesthetics of some of the new areas. Kugane, especially. I mean, once we sat down at our stations, I mean, we were right in Kugane.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Fusion, but it's pronounced Kugane.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know.
Kugane.
Actually, I'm curious about the setup of all. Usually, when we sit down at your station, did everyone get their own station? Did you?
So basically, yeah. So I mean, we were there for a good chunk of the day. So you walk in, and it's basically groups of 4, and you can kind of see this in some of the pictures that have gone out. Basically, they had 4 stations. So each station had 4 PCs. So it was basically a light party.
Right. Okay.
One of these stations was used for our dungeon hands-on that we had, and then for the rest of them, we were just kind of at our computer for most of the day, just kind of doing whatever we wanted to within the limitations of the media tour.
So how long did you actually have sitting on your station hands-on
Oh, geez. It was probably 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
Did you feel like that was enough time to really get in depth? Or there's still a lot that you wanted?
It's never enough time. It's never enough time. I mean, and this is the biggest issue with any of this stuff. And anybody that's ever gone to a PAX or a fan fest knows as soon as you sit down, you have to try and configure your hotbar and you got to put all your stuff. And it was the point where for me, a lot of people, we have our dungeon video and some other videos. And everyone's like, oh my God, they're clicking abilities. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I didn't want to sit there for half the time configuring all my damn hotbars.
Clicker.
I'll configure all the hotbars for all the jobs, and then I'll have 5 minutes left to play.
Oh, you're not lying there.
So, but yeah, I mean, you go in and you have your stations, and you're just kind of there, and that way you can, we had some external capture stuff where you could set that up and stuff like that. So,
all right. So your initial thoughts of Kugane then, because in the past, Yosheep has painted some really, I think painted this in a really, really big light. I think one of the things that I'm most looking forward to is he once mentioned that there are going to be multiple ways to traverse through Kugane.
Yeah. And that's not something that I played around. They talked about how you can jump around and jump up on stuff a lot. Yeah, and that's not something that I did personally. But if you go back and look the Tour of the East video they put out, there's that nighttime shot where the samurai's kind of walking, and there's the rope lanterns. If you look closely, there's actually a ninja running across. That rope.
You're telling us you just walked down the middle of the street like some sucker?
I mean, yeah. I mean, didn't you see the video? That's pretty much what I did. I just kind of walked around and took some video and.
Man.
And if you were to compare it to our past zones that we've been through, like Ishgard or Idleshire, where does it rank among those? it different? Does it feel kind of like a natural extension of those, or is it very different?
It's
Or like compared to like Ishgard.
I think it's noticeably different. I mean, obviously, like it's one zone versus two zones, and so the size, it's not like if you think of like a city, right? It's two zones, so it's like a 2. This is more of like a 1.5, 1.75. So it's not as big as it would be if it was two separate zones, right? But it's still a bigger single like city-state zone. But I think that the thing that really stood out to me was just like the color and stuff like that. I mean, you go to Ishgard and it's all like gray and kind of boring
because the people are sad there,
right?
Are the people not sad
here? They build all the buildings with their tears to hold as cement.
No, yeah.
You can hire really, hot-looking chicks to step on your face. Why would people be sad in Kugane?
I don't even know that you have to hire her. I think if you just say something like pro-resistance, she'll probably do that for free.
I think you just walk up to the Garlean consulate and you just say, "I would like to be stepped on."
And they accommodate you.
They just wave you in. Like, let them through.
So outside of Kugane, I think you got to witness two other zones, the Peaks and the Ruby Sea, right?
Yeah, so the Peaks is in Garabania, which is this zone is actually connected to Ralgru's Reach, which we didn't have access to, but on the map you can see like where the zone in is to Ralgru's Reach, and that was cool. The downside of the Peaks was we had mounts, but we didn't have flying access. And so it's like, yeah, that's great, but I don't want to like walk around all day over here, trying to find stuff.
They probably didn't want you to go looking for stuff yet.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, they said try and keep your exploration limited in the Peaks, but a lot of other people have some footage. We have some screenshots and stuff. So we spent a little bit of time in the Peaks, not a lot. We spent more time in the Ruby Sea, obviously, because that's where we could do diving and swimming. So we spent a lot more time out there, I think, than any of the other areas. So that was fun.
The Ruby Sea, the zone that has that like weird, just giant.
That is
structure?
the Jenga tower.
Yeah.
The Jenga tower. I never was able to see the top of that Jenga tower.
Really?
And you actually, and the ceiling, because we had access to flying in Ruby Sea, and you get like a little bit up, but then you hit a ceiling and it's like you still look up and you can't see the top of the damn tower. And it still
goes. Wow.
It's crazy.
That's interesting.
It's pretty crazy.
That is really interesting. I mean, a lot of people have been discussing what that could possibly be, what kind of structure that could be.
Because it doesn't look big enough to like go inside of it, right? It's just like a little tiny
I mean, it's a decent size, but I mean, when you think about
like any kind of a new deep dungeon, maybe.
I think it's possible. I mean, when you think of the way that just like cities and stuff like versus like what you see on the map versus like the actual scale like in that zone, it's never equal. So it's maybe I wouldn't completely rule it out.
Plus magic, Nika. Magic.
Plus magic.
Maybe we get shrunken down and we get put inside there. Then it's huge.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But then it would be even bigger and take even longer to climb. 10,000 floors, every floor the same.
So yeah, you can see the video of the different area tours over at gamerescape.com. We'll share some of them on screen now. You can see the first one kind of moving through the Kugane area and showing off some different character models here. How
did you even record the video? I'm curious. Like
we had some software recording, but then we also last month we invested in a Evermedia Gamer Portable 2, and so we actually, I don't know if you guys saw it, we actually have some Final Fantasy 12 HD gameplay as well. Nice. So it's just we don't need a PC. It's not like a normal kind of stream box where it's like you got to run 1,000 different things through it. You just go and hook it through and you're good to go.
I would have been there like recording it on my camera. Like.
So has it got like a throughput and you just can record onto
it's a throughput and then just USB power. You can just plug that right into the front of like whatever, any USB source and you're good to go.
You just toss a card right in there and
it just right onto a micro SD.
Dude, that's pretty awesome.
At first glance, what I really like about Kugan here as opposed to let's say like Ishgard. Ishgard felt kind of like just like hallways, like you have your walking space and then the buildings are just the walls and you can't go anywhere. But
I mean, the Pillars was pretty open though.
Yeah, Pillars was okay. But like looking at this and being able to like how high up it goes and how far you can see, like this actually I think for once
feels like
actually
a town.
really feels like a city.
Like people live there.
Yeah, it is very well designed, even though I've been very vocal about the fact that I'm not really into the whole Japanese culture styling.
The aesthetic.
The aesthetic aesthetic is not mine. I will absolutely say that this does look very well designed. The dynamic lighting that they have going on there is really interesting. It looks huge, like it looks massive, and on the scale that a city really should be. So I'm very impressed with what we're seeing here. And then
I mean, for the Far Eastern aesthetic, it's not for everybody, but like as far as like what they were going for, they absolutely nailed it. Like it looks beautiful. Yeah.
Very impressive. Again, if you want to check out all of these videos, we're not going to play the entirety of the video. There's videos and screenshots over at gamerescape.com. And let's talk about this dungeon that you guys got to check out. The Shisui of the Violent Tide.
Violet,
whatever.
The color, not the.
Shisui, and I'm trying to wonder
Shisui.
if that would be like four waters or something.
They're weaving on us.
Shi means four and sui is water. I don't know.
That could be.
I'm just trying to make sense.
Nobody cares about that.
I mean, along those lines, one of the weapons that dropped in the dungeon was I think it was like a katana of like the ruby tides. So presumably there are slightly different colored tides or something like that. So
did they look cool? Like, are they glamour? Are they glamour worthy?
I mean, the katana we saw was pretty cool.
Oh, katana.
I right-clicked, previewed it. Yeah.
Never mind. I'm thinking like ninja katanas. Never mind.
No. The GKs.
Yeah, not daggers.
Yeah, no. Sorry.
Well, tell us about the dungeon. What was it like?
It was really cool. It's actually, if you guys remember the Stormblood trailer that we had from Frankfurt, where it showed that kind of like that little underwater palace.
The Aether's butthole.
That's this dungeon.
Oh.
Yeah, we did actually. We got some look at that from the leaked video of the DAT explorers from
the guy who hacked the
benchmark. That's it. Yeah. Some of those we got a really good idea of some of the zones, and we had said, this looks like a lead up to some kind of a dungeon. And there we go. We get the circle arena there as you guys are walking up to the structure. Yeah, this boss looks really interesting too.
Yeah, the scorpion. You have to like cripple its leg, and then he'll like fall over.
There you go.
Critical damage.
That's kind of. Have we had a mechanic like that in 14 before, where you knock a mob over?
I don't think so.
No, I think it's very rare that in dungeons we actually have to change our target, and when we do, it's either because it's an ad or B, it's something like, oh, this dragon's going to start raining hell upon us, so let's kill the wings really quick, then just go back to attacking it.
Yeah, hit the gate or something like that.
Yeah,
Dragon Ball Z it.
Yeah. I mean, there's like doing a certain amount of damage before a move goes off, right? Like there's...
It's basically that's what it is.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we see you guys fight further on into the structure, you actually do end up going inside the structure. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And again, all of this incredibly Eastern inspired. And here you come to the final confrontation in the boss. I think this is the final one. The boss. What is this? What are you fighting?
That's the second from the last.
Oh, it's the second from the last. Sorry.
But it's basically like a reskinned Sophia, right? But,
okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember because this underwater palace. I mean, we knew as soon as the Stormblood trailer came out, people were like, "Oh, this is probably this based on this legend and stuff." And I can't remember all the details of it, but there was something about and like youth and some kind of like a princess or something like that.
Yeah, because it looked like you got turned into an old woman there.
I did, which is really funny because I won't name names, but the character I was on for this dungeon was modeled after somebody that worked at SE. And they were like, "Oh, it'll be cool. Like, I'll see all the press coverage, and they'll be like, oh, that's my character.' Well, if it's in the dungeon, it's going to keep getting turned into an old lady." So I thought that was kind of funny. Then you saw there too, after that boss, there's like a little ledge you can kind of jump off, and it goes into like this little pool of water.
Into the pool.
That you kind of swim through to get, nice little touch here.
Little environmental stuff like that. Now we're here on the final boss.
This looks like an Escalia wet dream.
It looks like a modified Nika character model.
Oh yeah, from Void Arc.
Yeah, exactly.
Except this one has like a somewhat feminine looking face.
Right. It's ephemeral.
Yeah,
it's ephemeral. Is basically okay. That's cool. I can dig another ephemeral final boss. They're definitely
ugly.
Yeah,
they're wonderful to kill. I'll tell you that much.
Anyway, so I mean, the dungeon looks fairly straightforward. It's what we kind of have come to expect for Final Fantasy XIV dungeons. Let's talk about the battle system, because you got a lot of hands-on with the battle system.
Yeah.
I'm watching you put up some big numbers. I just saw you hit like a 6K something or other. What were your impressions of the way that the FF14 battle system is going to change?
So what I did, I obviously I main Dragoon, so I was on Dragoon for a fair amount of time, and
it's
on the
probably a smart choice.
And then I also had some time. I played on Machinist a little bit and Samurai a little bit. But I really like the changes, especially to Dragoon. A lot of jobs. I mean, all the jobs are changing. Like there's it's some more than others. Dragoon's changes feel more like a more natural kind of evolution of what we already have. Their 4 combo action is now a 5 combo action. They give you some stuff to kind of weave in between jumps now with Mirage Dive, and so it's really easy to kind of just get into the swing of like what the new Dragoon is. Machinist obviously is a huge change. There's no more casting timers. There's a whole heat management thing now. Wildfire is only 10 seconds now, so it'll be really fun to see how people kind of figure that stuff out once everybody gets their hands on it and gets the rotations going and stuff.
That sounds really cool. I mean, a lot of stuff that I've been hearing about Ninja makes it seem like they've simplified it more, which worries me because it was already a pretty simple rotation. But I mean, hearing your take on Dragoon at least sounds like they're at least taking that job in a better direction.
Yeah. Does the balancing of Blood of the Dragon, does that feel a little bit more natural now?
Oh, it's amazing. Like I've been doing raids and stuff, and it's always so annoying when you have Blood of the Dragon up and it's like, okay, I need to finish this combo or it's going to die off, right? I'm going to lose that buff.
Yep.
And then for whatever reason, something happens. Oh, I need to move. There goes my Blood of the Dragon. Mm-hmm. And it's like the most annoying thing ever. But now, both of those 4 combo hits, both of those can proc alongside each other with a new trait that you can unlock, and both of those will still regen Blood of the Dragon, and then Gears Kogel doesn't reduce Blood of the Dragon.
Oh, wow, so that's way better.
It's real nice now. It's pretty streamlined.
All right, sweet.
I think a lot of where the concern is being driven from is that I think in abstract, when you look at the changes, and especially comparative one job to the other, it does look like on paper, at least initially, that everything is being simplified. And the thing that I think that a lot of people aren't really giving forethought to and the credit to is that, well, this is the first time we've got kind of confirmation what happens beyond level 60, because those simplified aspects I think are going to be necessary as we start adding, as Fusion said, like a 5th ability into our rotation and things
That's
like
true.
that. So I think some of the criticism that we had laid out last week about how everything is just seemingly getting easier. Well, I do think that that is a valid concern, and I think that at least speaking for myself, my concerns are on a bit more of a deeper developmental philosophy level, as opposed to just simply, this aspect of the battle system is getting easier, this aspect of the game is getting easier. That it to me, it was an overall philosophy idea. But Fusion, I'm glad that this week we're more talking about hands-on and what actually does happen past 60 and how the rotations are going to be affected, so that it doesn't, again, because abstracted from everything else, from all other consideration, it does look like each job just gets easier on paper.
Well,
yeah, I mean, the thing that I think that is important to take away from this too, I mean, at least with my time on that I had with like Dragoon and Machinist, for example, it's your opener and that kind of starting rotation, it's more streamlined, it's a lot simpler. But then a lot of jobs now, they have something that like for example, Life of the Dragon, right? After you do like 4 jumps, 4 Mirage dives, and then you use Gears Kogel, you can go into this red Blood of the Dragon, right? And then you get access to a new ability. It's one of those things where they have a lot of stuff that's meant for longer fights. Because I mean, that was one of the problems doing this. We were me and Charles, who went with me, were doing the trying to test stuff out in the Ruby C. But the problem was we kept killing stuff too quick.
Okay.
So like just as I would be getting ready to proc something, it's like, oh, okay, there's no more mobs here.
All right, so that's interesting. So usually when we think of jobs in rotations, from the moment you start it to where quote unquote the end was, or it loops infinitely, you're still just basically doing the same thing over the length of a fight. But what you're saying is they've designed it in a way now that the longer fights, your rotation starts to evolve into a different type of rotation where you get to make different, maybe more meaningful choices towards combat.
Yeah, it's I think what it is it's those, for those more kind of like hardcore players, right? Or the people that are raiding, basically, right? Or that are doing bosses or something. It's, that initial like, oh, I'm just going to go up and kill this mob. Like that's pretty simple and straightforward.
Right.
Once you start getting into stuff, it's okay. After I get to this point where I can activate Life of the Dragon, when do I want to use this? I need to make sure that my gauges are at a certain time. I need to make sure my cooldowns are right. When do I start to weave that into things?
And that's super cool because, one of the frustrating things about like raiding, especially on Dragoon, is you have your opening salvo, which is your highest DPS, and then kind of everything after that for the next few minutes is weaker and weaker and weaker until you get back to having everything up again and you go again.
Right, because you've got the cascading cooldowns.
Right, so the first run through is like really fun, and then you almost kind of go into down period for a few moments.
And there is that very real thing that I think there's a certain percentage of MMO players that experience it that they are not the most efficient with their cooldowns because they don't hit it whenever it's readily available, and they're not maximizing the amount of time during a fight that it's up because their inclination is save it because I might need it later, save it for an ideal moment, and that is actually not encouraged when you pick apart the data.
Yeah, and I think the thing I really like too about Dragoon, one of the biggest things with Dragoon, it's kind of connection dependent for double weaving, like your buffs and stuff. But now with obviously you'll still want to probably try and do that on your opener if you can. But now with Mirage Dive, basically what happens when you jump, you can then use Mirage Dive. So you could jump, hit a button from your combo, and then Mirage Dive and weave those in instead of having to double weave everything, which I think is really nice as well.
That's way cooler.
Yeah,
that is.
See, I like this, and you talked about the concern that maybe this is becoming easier, but at the same time, there's the other half of that where your DPS should be expected to be that much higher. The required DPS that comes out of it needs to be that much higher.
Right, and your toolkit is expanding as well. And we did talk about ability bloat a lot, and this is a way to address that. I don't think it excuses the notion that we could have one button PvP combos. I don't think that seems like a bit too simplified in my opinion. But
wait till we get to one of the later interviews.
Press 3 to win.
Yeah, right. But the thing is that I'm at least willing to be more open to these types of changes. Knowing that our toolkit is expanding and putting aside the fact that I think continual vertical expansion is not the way to go, given that's where we're at and the route that Square-Enix has decided to take, then you know what? This is probably the best way for them to address and alleviate some of those concerns. So let's talk about, because you guys gave a pretty in-depth role analysis and breakdown between the different roles and how they're going to end up changing. Why don't you tell us a little bit comparatively how what your takeaway was between the different roles?
So this was a big shout out to Charles. He actually wrote these up during our time. Like I said, that you never have enough time to really cover everything that you want. But what we did is we spent a lot of time just going through trying to get tooltips, for stuff. So that way, if we didn't get to it, we could at least have the tooltips, and then we could kind of piece together some of it later on.
Thanks, Charles.
And some other people too from the community, Mr. Happy, Ms. Tech, Rasef from Reddit, Avalon Star. A lot of those guys too took some pictures, and we kind of collabed a little bit to make sure that we had everything as a resource. So definitely a big shout out to those guys. It's so cool, and I don't think a lot of people realize how much we work together behind the scenes to try and maximize the coverage for this thing. So it's really cool when we have a chance to be able to do that.
So they all work together behind the scenes, but were never invited. Is that what I just?
No,
heard?
they were. We
didn't get an invite to the cool kids party.
All right, that's fine. Whatever, Fusion.
I mean, to be fair, I wasn't at the cool kids party either. They were day 2. I was day 1. So. But yeah, I think out of my biggest takeaway from this, I think like everything is changing, right? So everybody's going to have to relearn stuff to a point. But I think for me, the thing that stands out the most really is just the ranged DPS classes, because those are changing so much. Like Mage's Ballad isn't Mage's Ballad anymore. It doesn't have anything to do with magic.
What?
That seems inappropriately named.
I thought there was a video that showed it.
Well, so the way that it works now is so there's no more cross class skills, right? So you have role actions.
Mm-hmm.
Each role has 10 role actions that they can select. There's 10 total, but you can only equip 5. And so what they've done is all these roles that have all these different abilities that do the same thing, they've gotten rid of those, and those are now role actions. So like Protect is a role action now. None of the jobs natively have Protect.
Oh.
And so along those same lines, like Mage's Ballad doesn't refresh MP anymore. The Bishop turret doesn't refresh MP anymore. But what you do have is you have a role action, which is refresh every 180 seconds that'll restore MP for everybody.
Okay.
Okay, then what is Ballad?
Yeah, well, there's actually a question in the interview you did that kind of sort of touched on this idea that, you know, currently in the way that the game works is that there are certain things that are required, like, for example, Protect, right? And those abilities, in some cases, are specific to just one job, and that gives, you know, puts a very big responsibility on one single person. And one of the things that they wanted to do is give these responsibilities, you know, they want to give a chance for you to be able to sort of assign these responsibilities on a player basis rather than on a job basis.
Yeah, well, and they also took things like leg sweep, which was, you know, melee based stun, and that's now role class. Like anyone can pick that up.
And those that kind of overlap was pretty obvious to see in the system. And taking those and making those, you know, role abilities, again, I think that just serves to make the jobs mathematically a little bit more similar, and therefore subsequently easier to balance on the developer end. And, you know, like, those are the kinds of concessions I'm okay with, right?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Those are the kinds of things where I see that and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It makes, you know, making each job mathematically more similar makes sense, so that, you know, what you're having to balance between are really these sort of specialized job gauges,
right?
That you know, and that and sort of like your end game rotation, I think, are going to be the two biggest factors on what makes a job feel different one to the other. Would you agree with that, having gotten hands-on Fusion?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think things are more evened out, I think, for a lot, especially with the new role actions. I think, though, and I'm going to go back to ranged DPS again, because that's kind of, I think, where the biggest thing that stands out is, yes, both, you know, Machinist and Bard have that, you know, the TP regen and the refresh for MP regen role action now, but I feel like Bard is a little more like support based now, whereas I think Machinist has made a little bit more of a shift towards DPS more.
Interesting.
But the problem is, and this is kind of why we were talking about the role actions with Yoshida, is you're still going to have these spells that it's like, or these role actions, it's like, okay, if you're this class, you need to have, you know, these 5 equipped. But I think the nice thing about this, especially when you look at stuff like the healer roles and stuff, like, it's once you get into like raid parties, that's when you can nitpick a little bit, because both healers in a raid don't need Protect.
Right. And do you think that this is going to end up making, you know, composition for raid parties more or less important moving forward?
I think there's going to be definitely a focus on role actions and who's using what. I think if you're just doing like your duty finder stuff, like your 4-mans, it's not going to be a big deal. Obviously, like if you're a Machinist or a Bard, you're going to want your TP and your MP stuff. Like, there's just givens, right, for those smaller like 4-man things.
Sure.
once you get into raid, it opens up the door, I think, for a little bit more customization of your job, for sure,
and strategic planning as you're going in.
And it cuts down on the whole like our raid group only has it's astrologian scholar, like what are we gonna do?
Right.
I mean, I may be picking the wrong jobs, but
yeah, I mean,
you're not so worried about having the wrong jobs because you have those role-based actions to kind of make up the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you're in a raid group, maybe you have 2 melee DPS. Maybe one of them needs to have True North that'll nullify all action direction requirements, or Crutch that removes Bind and Heavy from a party member. I mean, I think some of these are like throwaways, but the fact that they're there, it's either like they just needed to fill up those 10 actions, or they see that these will be somewhat useful sometime in the future. Who knows?
Well, and it definitely makes sense for a lot of things. I always thought of something like Blood for Blood on Lancer. Like every freaking melee DPS had to level up Lancer to get Blood for Blood. There was no excuse for not having it.
But it was. I mean, at least the way that I saw it is like that was. It encouraged you to go check out a job that you would have no otherwise, incentive to go level. Is it a pain in the ass? Yes, but is it like a core? Like I also think it's like a core function of an MMO that classes play into one another.
I'd agree with that if like Lancer 1 to 35 would ever convince anyone to take up that job.
Fair point.
Come on, impulse drives.
Fusion, did it let you save like multiple like hotbar layouts for the same job? Because I feel like 2 healers don't need protect in raid, but I mean if you're then going to go do a dungeon, if you don't have protect equipped,
so that one I didn't test. I know this was actually something we were talking about yesterday on Aetheryte Radio, and I think probably the best way to go about it is and again it depends on your setup and what you're comfortable with.
Because they say they want to limit the ability bloat, but if you have to equip all of it anyway.
Yeah, I mean it makes more sense to me to just obviously you're not going to equip every single role action. There's some that are just
right, but you don't want to like leave it on.
You don't need them. I think I'm of the notion where I would leave it on my bar, and I'll tell you why. Because if you have like your light party set up, and then you have your full party set up, you're going to get used to a certain action being in a certain spot.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
And I would be worried about swapping it out and then, hitting one button thinking it's one ability and it's another.
So then does it really get rid of the ability bloat in that point? Even if it's not equipped, it's still on your bar?
Well, I mean, see, they can get away with it because you don't need to have it on your bar. Right, it's not
but you
technically required, and I think that's something. And there's going to be overlap where it's your light party, your full party role action setups. They're not going to be completely different. There's going to you're probably still going to have 3 out of the 5 abilities be the same. So I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue. But I think that's something as people get their hands on it and play around with stuff that they'll figure out if it is an issue or not.
So on top of the media tour that you guys got for Stormblood and the actual hands-on with the expansion, you also got to sit down with Yosheep and speak with him for an interview. And I'd like to talk about some of the the questions that were asked and some of the things that we learned through the course of multiple interviews. There was multiple interviews coming out this week. And again, if you want to find Gamer Escapes, that's over at gamerescape.com. But some really interesting stuff gleaned from these interviews.
Yeah, so the first question here was actually the one that I alluded to a minute ago. You were asked if any of the devs were worried about any of the cross-action roles being perceived as required by the community. The example I think you gave was Palisade, which reduced the physical damage.
I'm never equipping Palisade on Machinist. Never.
But I actually really liked his answer, and this is one of the battle or one of the changes to the battle system, or at least I think the philosophy of creating your parties that I really liked. And he explained that by turning certain skills into cross roll, that perhaps only one job had it before, that lifts a certain responsibility from a single player and now makes it so a wider variety of your party can take on that responsibility. So like you said, as a machinist, you're like, fuck that, never doing Palisade. But somebody else could take up that responsibility and be like, all right, I'll make sure that I have Palisade equipped.
Right, and if you have access to a variety of debuffs and stuff like that, then your utility within inside of a party composition becomes a lot more varied.
Yeah, because I mean, before it would be like, look, we have MP issues in this fight, we have to have a bard or a machinist. But now that's become a DPS caster role, right?
No, it's range DPS, so you still need a
okay.
barter
So it's still either one or the other. Okay, but
range DPS is pretty limited there.
Yeah. So, but just this idea that amongst your whole group, instead of there just being like, we need this one job for that one ability, now you just need necessarily someone from that that archetype who's willing to put that on their bar. And I think that's probably one of the coolest changes to, I think, battle philosophy that I've heard from Square Enix so far.
Yeah.
Another question was asked about how the new role actions, not just the ones taken from previous jobs and made available to everyone, were created. How many abilities did you see that were actually brand new created stuff and not just the new form of whatever it was that was consolidated?
The new stuff overall was more in like the minority. A lot of stuff, I mean, like Swift Cast, Sure Cast, stuff like that is stuff we already had that they just removed.
Well, did they show you like the new abilities that you were actually going to get between 60 and 70?
Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen all the abilities. Yeah.
That you got to like.
We have for
the role actions though. It's basically a lot of stuff that's wasn't used a lot or something. Like for example, and I'm going to go back to range DPS again. Foot graze and leg graze now. All of those, like the stuns or the bind and the heavy from machinist, those are role actions now. You'll probably never want to use them for anything. You got your head graze and your arm graze, which is your silence and your stun. You probably have those equipped a lot of the time. But I mean, those were all from certain jobs and stuff. But now they're gone from those specific jobs and their role actions. So everybody in that role can have a stun or have a silence or have second wind. Machinist with second wind now is amazing. Or have the movement speed boost with Peloton now. Some of them got renamed, but they're it's the Bard Swift song.
Yeah, that was the big impression that I got from Yosheep's answer too. Is he didn't talk so much about creating brand new abilities that didn't exist in the game before, but more so about taking all these abilities that did the same thing across multiple classes and then combining them into just one new cross-class ability, but is still an ability that we had before.
I like that now every class gets to piss off their healer by not using second wind.
That's true.
Before it was only me who got to do that.
I use second wind.
Yeah, but it's more.
I always use second wind too when I was on Monk. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, but it's more fun to piss off the healer. Anyway, you asked a really interesting question about the connection between Ivalice and Hydaelyn, where previously Yosheep had said that that they were not literally connected, and that now alluding to a possible connection. Like what kind of insight did he give to you?
This question was from Anonymous, because a while back, I think this might have been during 2.0 when once people started playing it and they're like, oh, Ascians, oh wait, those are from 12. Like, what's going on? Like,
Zodiac Brave.
Brea's mask looks like the thing from Matei. Like, what's going on?
That's true. And I forgot about those connections. Yeah.
Yoshida went to the official forums and he's like, Ivalice is not Eorzea. Like, he's just like, stop this. It's not a thing. They're not the same world. They're not literally connected.
Well, because there were a lot of theories like that Ivalice may be on one side of the globe and that we're just on the other, and we just don't.
I always figured Ivalice was like one of the other worlds.
Well, but now his answer now just seems so like wishy-washy. Like when he said Ivalice is not.
What he says is he still stands by what he said, but what he says is that we should look forward to Matsuno-san's interpretation of what Ivalice is inside of Eorzea.
That's so weird though, because the question is just literally, does Ivalice exist on Eorzea? Yes, it does, or no, it doesn't. How is that open to interpretation?
I don't know.
It does, but it's not the
I think
Ivalice.
what he's saying is it's not the same Ivalice from the other games. It's going to be a reimagined version of it. So it's not literally connected FF12 and FF Tactics and Vagrant Story. It's its own Ivalice.
Okay, it's still...
We don't have Japan in Eorzea. We have Doma, which is Japan in another name.
It's like the Crystal Tower, right? It's from 3. I'm using quote fingers, right? But it's Eorzea's version of it. And that's what we're going to have with Ivalice. Obviously, it'll probably be heavily inspired since Matsuno-san is helping to direct all that stuff. But it'll still be Eorzea's version of Ivalice.
Yeah, so do you... Tower, we're not like, oh my god, we're going into the game of FF3.
Okay, all right. Okay, so do you Fusion? Do you take that meaning as we're gonna have an event somewhere in the Stormblood storyline, right, or the Stormblood expansion that is a reference to FF12, but also exists in Eorzea, much like the Crystal Tower does?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it's going to be. I mean, we've known for a while, and I think we talked to Koji about this 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, if you look, it was one of the other language versions had a mention of Gaius being from it was Dalmasca or Rabanastre, like one of those.
Oh wow, really?
So we know that those cities. I mean, it's like Doma. Doma was in another Final Fantasy game. You know, it's like they reused little things here and there, right? And so we knew that there were these cities, but now with Return to Ivalice, we can go, oh, it's probably a region. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to go to Othard. We have that eastern part of the map that's kind of open up. I think Ivalice is probably going to be, if you go a little left towards that giant swirling cloud around Garlemald, is probably kind of up towards that way. And that's, I think it's just going to be the 14 version of Ivalice, which will probably be inspired by everything.
Similar how they put.
I mean, we like how we have Costa del Sol and
right,
yes.
Gold Saucer.
And the Gold Saucer
and the Gold
Saucer.
Okay. See now that because that was a big sticking point for me.
That's a lot more palatable.
Yes, I think initially when I heard Return to Ivalice, especially because they're calling it specifically that title, Return to Ivalice. Yeah.
When was the last time we were in Ivalice? Final Fantasy 12.
Well, but that my concern for that was that it's how do we get there?
Right.
Like if that's actually what they're doing, you're right, Escalia. I think calling that much more palatable is
because when I heard this, I pictured. Oh, a cavernous maw just opened up, and now I'm in Ivalice, and I don't want that.
So that's why I figured that how we learned that there was all the different worlds, and some of them have been consumed by darkness. I figured Ivalice was another one of the worlds, and we would travel there.
If there is just a region on this map that is called Ivalice, and it's themed after that, I can live with that.
Way more with that.
And that's what it's going to be. And it's not like we're going to go in there and there's going to be this little weird kid running around going like, I'm Captain Bosch. Like that's not going to be how it works. It's going to be, you're going to go into Othard, and there's going to be this region Ivalice, and we're going to be going through that. And maybe it's under Imperial control or some kind of monster control or something like that.
Don't believe Othard's lies
to go into 5.0.
Oh my God, that would what if there was a little kid running around saying I'm Captain Bosch and just like. Whatever.
It's just like the little text that sometimes appears near an NPC.
I wouldn't put it past localization to have just like a little character run by quick with like bubble text.
Yeah, it's just the little bubble text that pops up near an NPC.
No, but I really want I want the villain to like come out of nowhere and just like beat the living crap out of him. You know what I mean? Just like I'm Captain.
Just gets
done.
Decked.
He gets like he gets decked like someone wearing a pair of VR goggles. You know what I mean? Like just it never sees it coming, takes the full brunt of it, and
as he runs past the chocobo, it could just kick him off into the distance.
Ends up with a closed head injury or something.
Lies, Aniero.
Oh my gosh!
In this game, it's going to be Othard's lies.
All right. Fusion.
Garlemald's lies and alternative facts.
So there's an aspect to the interview that, and I'm really glad that you guys asked this, because I think that this has been a concern, especially since we've seen some of the consolidations that we have. Asking about could ability consolidation come from combos in PvP into PvE. What did you think about Yoshi's response to this question?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, basically, what they said.
Don't even justify this.
No, and I'm not just like I don't think we need it. It would oversimplify stuff, because right now what he said is it would be hard because you would have to take the directionals into consideration. And I mean, and there's some jobs too. Like I think Monk was the example he gave, where there's so many different like paths for each combo that you can take, where it would really be a pain in the ass. They'd have to rework all those combos and really simplify them, and it would take a lot of the variety out of those jobs.
Okay, so
and it would take a lot of the skill out too.
Yeah, see, that's my concern. He sits here and says stuff like, "Oh, probably not, because it would be too hard to do." What about probably not, because it would undercut the complexity of the battle system?
Yeah, I think he does kind of a disservice to himself, not really making a defense to the game design that he's laid out. I mean, that's that's, I think, and again, going back to the last episode, I think that's one of the primary concerns that I've been voicing has been the consistent concessions that Square Enix seems like they've been making in favor of trying to attract an audience that hasn't already been paying the bills for 4 years. And to me, that's kind of frustrating, especially as one of those dudes who feels like a rube who, for paying the bills for 4 years. That to me is the thing that I get blown away and frustrated by. That here you have a perfect, you have a perfect opportunity to defend your game design, and instead you go, oh yeah, I'm just open to the idea of making it easier. That seriously makes me question the long-term investment of players to FF14. Like it makes me question my own long-term investment.
Especially because they're already kind of simplifying it in a way that everyone can start to understand and do it easier, but yet to be the one who's able to get max DPS is where you need to learn the fight, learn where can I throw this part of my combo and where do I need to dodge in order to do this move and get the right positional. Taking all of that out into one button is it totally changed. I don't know. I can't even form a coherent thought because it's so dumb. It's stupid. It makes no sense, and I can't even believe he's considering doing that.
Yeah,
PvP makes sense because there's so much going on, right? We were saying this last time. There's so much going on in PvP. There's people going everywhere. There's explosions. There's people chasing you down and whatever. I get it, but in PvE, where it becomes I don't know.
Yeah, if PvE mobs moved like PvP ones, not having directionals would make sense. Like trying to have directionals in PvP would be impossible.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, keep in mind too. I mean, he didn't say no. But he also has said no if 14 is going to be on the Switch, right? He won't say no. He's like, well, maybe, it's I think it's his way of saying
people who are asking for it without saying no.
Right. So it's yeah, I think that's exactly what.
Well, it is definitely like a Japanese thing to not outright say no to ideas. Like that's just a cultural thing.
I don't know.
I mean, in this particular case, he says, that underlying system, because they're using it for PvP, that's there, but they would have to make it's not impossible. We could maybe do it. Is what he's saying. He's not saying that they would ever do it or that they won't ever do it, but it's
it might be
maybe
something that we could consider if there is a large demand for it.
And see, that's the kind of
that's like the new please look forward to it.
But that's
a large enough demand.
That's the kind of language that we heard around the jump potion. That's the kind of language that we've heard around the cash shop.
Around easy mode for raiding.
What kind of indication?
But the thing is, there was easy mode demand. There was not a jump potion demand. So that's where I'm a little bit confused.
Well, I mean, if you consider people who don't play this game, then yeah, I think there was a demand for jump potion.
But was there though? I never saw anyone saying, "Oh man, I want to play 14, but I'm not because there's no jump potion." Nobody said that.
Nika, nobody said that. But what it is there's people that have friends playing the game, and they're like, "I would love to play that game with you," and then they get in and they say, "Oh, I have all this shit to do to catch up to you," and then they lose interest and they stop playing. That's where the jump potion came in.
Yes.
Then that person is not cut out for an MMO.
If you translate people quitting before they hit 50 as demand for a jump potion.
Well, plus they also had it in the Korean version and they were making money off of it, so why not?
By that justification, okay, but
but in terms of what they're considering what players want or not, I understand from the business perspective, but from the players' demand.
Well, I think in that regard, though, right? You say, okay, do people want this? Let's spend the time on it. They already developed it, so it's just a matter of throwing over a couple. Have localization, write up a couple different terms, and throw them on the cash shop. There's not that much involved in bringing it over to the global.
No, you're right. You're right.
Version. No, it's not like they're wasting dev time or anything like that.
Right, but the answer to why not is because it serves to demotivate the people who have been there and playing your game.
We've already established they don't
long
care about
term. But they need to. Okay, if the audience is the lifeblood of your MMO, if you're subscription based, because it is, FF14 is still a subscription model game. Your subscription base is your lifeblood. That's what you survive by. And if you've been able to survive and profit off of the people that you already have, trying to go and find and attract a whole new audience does not serve the people who have already been there. It's only going to serve to alienate them. And I think a decision like this does alienate a lot of people who have been playing this game very loyally for a very long time. I feel it too. I'm just as frustrated as those people are, because I do feel like that undercuts a whole lot of, work and effort that people end up putting in.
Well, you put it that way, and that's nothing new. I mean, even, it's, every patch comes out, they make old shit easier. Like, it's not really that different of a train of thought from that.
But that's the thing, is that they are already doing that, right? Like, the process to go from 1 to 60 is not that fucking bad. These people who are joining their friends and going, I can't play with them automatically, then I'm going to go do something else.
You can, because I have plenty of friends that actually just recently started, and I do dungeons with them all the time. Level sync easy.
My point is that, the people who you have right now, a vast majority of them have been playing longer than a year. Some of them have been playing a lot longer than that. Do you really think, can Square Enix really reasonably bank on being able to depend on someone who's not even willing to go through the leveling process, which, by the way, we know that Yosheep considers the leveling process content and valid content. People have fun with it,
and
by
compelling
God.
Content.
Compelling content. Yeah, that's what it was. And so if that's compelling content, and you get an entire player base that just gets to skip that, like, what does that do to your long-term player base to keep them logging in? Well, what? That they're playing with their friends? No. The ask originally from the developer of the new player to from the start was not that big. It was not that drastic. And the fact that they keep easing requirements for shit as content comes out really undercuts the need or even the justification for a jump potion on any level.
And I think if anyone's bitching that they can't come, like they started the game and they can't play with their friends, no, it's because your friend isn't making time to play with you, because there are plenty of things that you can do with low levels. And if they are not playing with you, that means they don't care enough about you. Not because you need a jump potion. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
New friends who will play with you as a low level.
I agree with that, and we glanced on the jump potion last week without a real opportunity to dig in deep on it, and I just, again, the language that they're using around taking and simplifying PvE even further is language that we've seen, creep around other features that have been implemented that, it's pretty questionable to whether or not the jump potion long term is going to be good or bad. My only point is that I think it's going to be bad. I think long term you're going to see way more people who are just, they're not going to put up with it. Like, they're just
if people are going to quit because somebody could pay money to skip stuff, then they're a precious little snowflake, in my opinion. Everyone's complaining, everybody's stance, right, that they're bad is I'm going to do Duty Finder and I'm going to have really bad players. We have that shit already. It's not going to make a damn bit of difference. If you're doing raid groups and stuff, you're fine. These new people aren't going to bug you. If anything, they're going to come in, they'll stick around, maybe they'll throw up some new stuff on the market board. New players are always a good thing, but it's not all these terrible players are going to have that big of an impact versus what it is right now.
Fusion, you're absolutely
so
right.
Instead, we're going to have special little snowflakes who demand that they pay another $80 to $100 to start playing the game. Which,
exactly.
By the way, I don't think is ever going to happen, because who's going to play a game where it's to play this game with me, start by paying $100?
I mean, it's really fucking convenient to lay the label that they're special little snowflakes on them, when it's really, this is the acquiescence to pressure, external pressure on the company to cater to people who have not been playing the game. My whole point is that 4-5 years into the development of this game, they still think they can get new people. Are they fucking crazy?
I mean, add an expansion. Of course
are they stupid? Are they being Square Enix is being willfully fucking ignorant at this point if they think 5 years into the development of an MMO they can attract enough new people that this shit is not going to end up bleeding their bottom line dry. They're out of their fucking mind.
It's the big picture we're talking about right here, because you're right. The jump potion all on its own is fine. You're essentially trying to get extra money out of those people that don't make it all the way there, right? They make it halfway through leveling, they quit. You want to get an extra $100 out of them, and then they'll just quit anyway. That's fine. That's cool. The jump potion by itself is not the problem. The problem is they keep making concessions. They keep making decisions that are similar to the jump potion.
Right.
And when you have 5, 6, 7, 8 decisions that are on the same level as a jump potion, then the long-term players, they start to see all this, and they're like, all the money, all the development that went into these different things could have been spent making this game more, or increasing the life of this game for veteran players who would then bring in your new people.
Dev time isn't even a question. Like, are you serious? Like, all these like concessions they make to like make older content easier to go through. It's like they go into the code and they make something. They change something from like a 10 to a 3 or so. Like it's so minimal.
No. Don't mistake that. No, we're talking about concessions on the level of like, oh, hey, so Stormblood's got a bigger budget, but guess what? We're going to be receiving objectively less content. We're going to be receiving objectively fewer dungeons per patch.
Oh, God.
Because why? Because what hit to your bottom line did you need to take that, oh, you can't be able to make the same fucking amount of content that you did in Heavensward, which was a step down from a Realm Reborn? Exactly. Don't tout your bigger budget and then a smaller bottom line for us in terms of content. That's ridiculous. You're cutting you're fucking bleeding your shit. Like,
where are you getting that we're getting less content?
One of the interviews, MMORPGs interview.
They didn't say less content. What they said was
they're spreading it out differently. It's not less content.
No, less dungeons. We're only getting less. Every other patch, we're only getting 1 dungeon instead of 2.
But here's the problem. They say that we're getting 2 dungeons on the even, 1 dungeons on the odds, but we're getting new compelling content. My question
But he also says leveling job is compelling content. So what the fuck counts as compelling content?
My question is exactly what evidence do you have that is compelling content? From A Realm Reborn to Heavensward, we saw that Hildebrand got neutered, okay? We got Deep Dungeon, which was actually fun and relevant for a lot longer than anything else. But even when we look at
Diadem.
The first Diadem fell flat on its face. Okay, fine. They're going to redo it. They bring us Diadem 2.0, which was delayed because they apparently messed something up, and then when it came out, it still fell flat on its face. So tell me, from A Realm Reborn, what evidence do we have that they are able to come up with compelling content?
Enough to supplement, like, getting less dungeons.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to make your tome grind more ubiquitous for your casual players in favor of what?
I'm not sure it is even making anything more ubiquitous. It's just making it more boring.
In favor of what, though?
I want to point out, you said, what, 1 new dungeon with each patch?
No.
The even patches
you get
2.
Every main patch you get 2, and then on the off patches you get 1 new dungeon.
That's not what it said. It said the even patches are 2 dungeons and the odd patches are 1 dungeon. That would be 3.1 is odd, 3.2 is even, 3.3 is odd.
So there's another concession that we've taken.
These patches will contain odd number patches will have 1 dungeon, and then some other new content, and then you'll have.
Yeah,
right.
It's not saying main patches and spin-off patches. It's saying odd and even patches.
So are you excited to have your expert roulette only have 3 dungeons?
So
you guys are just fuck it. Yeah, just talk right over the donation. That's great, guys. Awesome. Good job.
Oh, sorry.
That's done now. Way to go.
Bitching so much. We're so passionate we couldn't even
Thank you for the $10, Veldir.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And saying no jump potion needed. I echo that. And again, that is objectively less content, and it's a step down again from A Realm Reborn. And that's the thing that's frustrating is the continual concessions. And how much shrinking content do we put up with until it's you get 1 dungeon per patch. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're giving us something brand new and compelling, as in like something so new to this game, like Palace of the Dead, every odd numbered patch. Sure. But that's not what's gonna happen. Absolutely not.
But you know what?
There's no way that's what's going to happen.
But you know what? You have spent all of your goodwill. You know what I mean? Like you can call it compelling content all you want. I've got to see it first. Like I'm not call it whatever you want. Eureka, Palace, whatever the fuck. I don't give a shit. Okay? I have to get my hands on the content before I'm going to go, oh, yeah, that was definitely worth sacrificing a dungeon. Because
they definitely, like what we were talking about before, is they really just want us to have 1 week of content only and then log off to the next patch. At this point, they're getting closer and closer to that.
That is, yes.
I will concede this to them. It's not hard to one-up a dungeon. So just if you give us something good, if you actually give us something that's better than that one dungeon, I will eat my words and I will kiss your feet all day. But until you do,
yeah, because that's me.
I'm willing.
I try to be optimistic about that. Like, you know me, like I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But like what Nate was or what Aniero was saying is like, look at their track record. Where is the proof that that is what's going to happen?
Because again, what did everyone say at FanFest when someone would go, oh man, I'm concerned that Stormblood may not end up even matching up to Heavensward. They go, oh, don't worry, Square Enix is spending more money on the budget. And then you look at what they've outlined for Stormblood and you go, well, where's that money going? Like
marketing.
Cinnabon?
Yeah, we've noticed that.
Oh, no, stop. Fusion, if Twitter has taught me anything, it's that clearly your marketing budget and your dev budget come out of two separate hats. So I don't so that justification doesn't work. It comes out of two separate hats. Seriously, someone tried to pass that off as an argument.
Someone just mentioned like they mentioned we have to wait and see, and I'm like, no. I'm done waiting and seeing.
Dude, that whole
I have been waiting and seeing since
Heaven's Award.
Yeah, I've been waiting and seeing since 3.0.
You know what's going to happen?
I'm done waiting and seeing.
Heaven's Word will come out, it'll flop, and people's justification will be, well, guys, you have to cut them a break. They're busy working on the compelling content for 4.1.
And then I'll get to 4.1, and then I'll need to wait till 4.2. I'm done with this.
So how is this? I mean, this is definitely going to end up affecting your dungeon structure if you go 2-1, 2-1, 2-1.
Yeah, we can't have an expert roulette with one dungeon. That's
exactly.
Not much of a roulette.
Do you know what they're going to be doing? They're going to be adding a third dungeon in the odd patch to that series of dungeons, right? Like they're just going to add another one into the experts, and it's going to be the 3 that rotate, and then the next even patch, when they add 2 more, that's going to be the next tier.
Yep. You know, I remember back in 2.0 when we got 3 dungeons every single patch.
Oh, that was asking too much, though, Juxta. They overworked themselves.
And good raid content.
Interesting.
It is interesting. And
good story in the raids.
Yeah.
You know, there was a question on the Nova Crystallis interview with Yoshida where they asked if there was anything that they wanted to implement, any features they wanted to implement with Stormblood that they didn't get around to. And Yosheep mentioned there was a PvP aspect or some PvP content they really wanted at launch, but everybody had already worked so hard on Stormblood it would have been disrespectful to ask them to do anything else. You know what else is disrespectful? Every expansion offering less and less to your player base.
Yeah. Especially if you're touting a bigger budget. I mean, that's that.
2 hats in here.
I know, which is why unless they're going to start teasing us like tomorrow about what this new compelling content is, we have no reason to believe them on this.
We already know what it is. It's going to be literally the shit in Eureka. That's what's going to be their compelling content every odd patch. Mark my words.
Well, look, I mean, we know that we've been knowing that there's going to be new PvP for a while now. We have new PvP. We have Eureka. We know they're looking at Blitzball at some point, which, given other gold saucer stuff would probably flop.
Fusion.
Blitzball's going to be awesome if that really happens.
Fusion, you talked to Yosheep about the changes to PvP and what the progression in that looks like now, and it basically came down to, now you basically, it's how many battles you fought and how much gear you've gotten.
Yeah, it's prestige.
They've turned PvP literally, I mean, it was already this, but now it is irreputably a glamour farm. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's literally gold saucer minigame.
I do feel like PvP has taken a pretty big hit moving forward. I am not.
But I mean, outside of like the first week of the Garo event, was it ever that popular though?
You know what?
Like I know there's a lot of like really vocal PvP people, but on the whole, like, is it really that popular?
It was more interesting.
Queuing up for it. How long are the queues for some of that?
That's the biggest issue. I know a ton of people, myself included, who every time I play PvP have a blast, but I refuse to wait 45 minutes in the queue to do it.
Yeah,
that's the issue. And so people don't play it simply because of that, or now that there's no chat and I can't say, hey, I'm new, give me a strategy. They can't because there's no fucking chat feature.
I think having a 3-faction PvP system makes everything a lot more difficult. difficult. Like, they really set themselves up for difficulty there because, the thing that you don't, I guess you don't really consider is you need all three factions.
But that's even in the feast, though, and the feast doesn't need that.
You're right.
And even that, the queue is still long.
I think most players by the time the feast had come out had kind of, decided whether they had an invested interest in PvP or not.
But even still, people I know who have played the feast and thought it was fun don't queue up because of the queue times. So it's just an endless cycle at that point.
It is.
The faction system doesn't even matter anymore because you can queue up as a freelancer and just get popped in wherever. So it's literally just
but that was very recent.
Yeah, well, like Aniero said, the damage has kind of already been done for a lot of people. And with this normalization of PvP, you might think, well, okay, now that everything's a lot more normalized, it's a lot more fair, more people will come in. But because of that, there are also people who are upset with the changes that now don't want to do it. So it's 6 of some, half a dozen of the other.
Dude, I feel like when we go and check the PvP boards in 6 months, they're going to be as empty as the Lords of Verminion boards.
Nothing is that empty.
My heart is for Yosheep.
Oh, wow.
Ooh,
shots fired.
Serious shade. Look at that. A lot of these interviews and a lot of these decisions really make me pretty concerned about the long-term health and just who Square-Enix thinks is their target market for this.
We know who it is. New players.
The people who are not playing. Yeah, and that to me is the thing that that bums me out because I do believe at some point you have to switch your development focus from bringing people in, from acquisition to retention.
Yeah, you can't just keep a game on like a permanent blood transfusion for all of its life.
No, not unless you're WoW. Not unless you have 10 million people and you can end up absorbing that hit that you take from people unsubbing in between patches.
Here's the problem with the WoW argument is that with Legion, the only reason Legion got so many people to come back is because the veterans who were with World of Warcraft told the friends that, hey, WoW is actually fun in this expansion, come back. And you know what? Case in point right here. I came back to Legion because Kawa said, hey, this game isn't shit anymore and it's going to be better in Legion. So I came back.
And the only reason we fell off is because we were playing Final Fantasy XIV. Thanks, Yosheep.
Yeah, thanks, Yosheep. Let's real quick go to our phone lines and talk to Romina Garamond of Siren. What's up, Romina?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for calling in. What's up?
Oh, it's a guy.
It's always a guy.
Well, yeah. Well,
girls exist. I promise.
I'm a veteran player since, I guess I call myself a veteran player since 2.0. And the amount of concessions that I've seen for quote-unquote making the game easier for new players starting all the way back with the bees, and I think it was Palace of the Dead or something, or not Palace of the Dead, whatever that dungeon was back then.
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about. Demon Wall, yeah.
That was the beginning. Yes. That was the beginning of it.
That was the beginning.
Not gotten better since. Nothing has ever increased in difficulty. Everything has always gotten easier.
Yeah.
And as a veteran player, since I've been here for 3 years or something like that now, I've been everywhere. I've done everything, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. And for this notion that we're completely throwawayable characters, throwawayable accounts because they want new players in, I mean, I've been here for 3 years. Should I not get a say in what kind of stuff that I want to see in the game?
According to some people, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's what we hear. Obviously there are people that agree with us, like you, for example. But the people that find our podcast, listen to our YouTubes, or come to the live show here and disagree with us, according to them, no.
Yeah.
Why should Square Enix care about you, Aniero? Nobody cares about you, Aniero.
Right.
And you're right. Square Enix shouldn't. But Aniero isn't the only one. We are voicing opinions that are shared by other people.
And when I say Square Enix doesn't care about me, I'm not personalizing it. What I'm saying is I've been here since 1.0. And Square Enix, it doesn't feel like, cares about me or anyone else who has been this invested for this long. And I can understand and sympathize with that position because I feel it too. I definitely feel it. And and it's frustrating. It's frustrating to feel like, okay, well, I've invested in this for, as Ramina had said, for 3-4 years, and what is the return that I'm seeing? The return I think that you expect is content that you enjoy, and if that's not the return that you're getting, then why be sub to an MMO at that point? You
can make a popular podcast about it.
Yeah, well, according to everyone who finds the show, well, it's only because you're making money off of it.
I've got the perfect solution for this, though.
Okay.
Get rid of the echo. Take it out. Never ever put in echo into any of the Savage coils until you have the gear or the item level next patch or expand.
Take about easier 30 seconds dots on Bard.
Okay. Thanks. Neva Frost?
Neva Frost.
All right, cool. I don't know. Go on. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's good. I hear the ring. I know to stop. Until the next expansion where, who can't beat the turn 13 now? Who can't beat Bahamut Prime now? You can walk in there with 3 people and do it. So why was there ever a need to put the echo in the first place?
And that's the thing is
they put an echo before the level increase, though. The reason we can beat that is because we out-level it by 1,000,000.
Right. Yeah.
There is echo in current content. There's echo in previous Alexanders. There's echo in previous Primals. So it's kind of.
But I understand his point that if you are going to out-level the challenge, if you're going to end up, being able to 6 months down the line decimate the content anyway, what's the point in the early easing of difficulty?
Because that's not hard to do, right? Fusion, they just
catch up.
They just have to go in and change a few 10s to 3s. It's really easy. It's not like they're spending any time on that.
No, these developers don't believe in
when it's relevant.
Disparity between skill levels and disparity between players. So if how dare we let the Raiders have higher gear than everyone else? We have to make it easier so everyone can catch up.
Why? I don't understand.
Me either. I just that's their mentality.
I don't understand what this whole idea that everything has to be ubiquitous across the board. Everything has to appear fair for everyone. Why is that the norm, especially for MMOs?
And we've had these conversations when we look back fondly on the times where players were helping each other and where things were fun is when it was hardest, back when Titan Hard was impossible. And the one time you'd get someone helping Titan Hard that already had their relic, it was like hallelujah chorus singing in your head. Yeah. And it was so much fun. And these people would just help because they could. And that was what we liked to see. There was not only gearless, but there was player, I don't know, just like you look at those people like, wow, I want to be just like them. Let me work even harder to get that. And it was just this whole sense of community strength and like competition and want and need that we don't have now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We've talked.
Why not? Because Ravana was really hard when it first came out. People get knocked off all over the place. Why then give it echo? Why not just make it hard for those people until they either decide it's not for them or they get good?
Right.
Because the gear's not worth shit anymore at that point.
But by the point that we outgear it by tome gear, then they can go back and get it if they care.
Yeah,
if they don't care, then why do they need to do it? At that point in time, when it's relevant, let the people who can do it have better gear.
Yeah,
let them show off their accomplishment and that they are better players or that they are smart. That they did an accomplishment. Let them have that gear. And let them show it off.
Yeah, we always go back to talking about Titan Hard mode for the Relic, but what we have to realize is back then, we didn't know any better, right? The Relic was amazing the first time around, and we didn't know that they were going to be easing all of these requirements, so the reason that everyone did it and we were willing to help people do it and the reason that we were willing to put up with that challenge is because it was the fucking Relic weapon, and we needed that. But now we know everything's going to be eased as we go along, so there's no reason to do that hard content. Right?
Yeah, we just say, I'll just wait until it's easier.
Well, it goes both ways, too, because, I wouldn't do Alexander Savage on my alt unless it was with my current raid group. I'm not bothering teaching new people how to do this. Why? I don't need this item.
Right. And
I might as well do it when it's most convenient and easy.
And when did that change? Because as Nika said, we wanted to help people with Titan Hard mode. We wanted to help people get past turn 5.
They were struggling as much as we were, and we wanted to help people because we knew that they needed this, and it was hard.
Yeah.
And then I've beaten it. I know how. I can help you. But now it's like, no, you can just wait till it's easier. I don't need to help you. Why?
Oh, well, why should I help someone through Savage mode when they can just go see the story on Easy mode?
Yeah,
when they can just grind tomes the next patch and get better gear than what's in here anyway.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I do wonder where that transition actually started happening, because you're right. There was a time when I was perfectly willing to help anyone with anything, and that time has passed.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think we're seeing a kind of confluence of factors here. But I think what's clear is that Square-Enix can't really continue to support a game that doesn't properly reward its player base through the game content. And by that I mean either through gears or gear or stats or whatever it is. You can't have this ubiquitous gear culture and also lower the skill gap. Like, those two things can't happen in conjunction with each other. The only way that Square Enix keeps its veteran player base around after easing some of these skill gap issues is to definitively introduce rewards that will reward a player much more long term than our current reward structure does, where it seems to be a patch or two. There needs to be a pathway for a longer term reward. And by that I think that there actually needs to be multiple, right? Like, there can't just be one reward, there can't just be one carrot, because that big carrot doesn't always work for everyone. You've got to give multiple carrots and put multiple carrots out there to make sure that you're enticing the most amount of your player base as possible.
I think something to remember too. I mean, we've talked a little bit about Eureka and how maybe that'll flop or whatever. But what they've told us so far, maybe we will get something where it's that old, that Titan hard mentality, right? Where it's you have to go into Eureka and you have to do this stuff in order to get your weapons and you have to work together. Maybe we'll get something like that. Maybe it'll be great. We don't know yet. We also know that for Omega Savage, they said if you beat the end, maybe you'll get some kind of like access to like a special area or something like that. So there is going to be incentive. Okay. The problem is we just don't know the details of them.
I will concede you on the Omega thing.
It's not like they're not trying. We just don't know about it yet.
I will concede you on the Omega thing, because I do remember them saying that if you beat it on Savage mode, you get either an extra cutscene or something changes in like the main scenario quest or something like that. But besides, we don't know. What gives you hope about Eureka? Because we can't. It is fair to look back on how they've treated previous content and use that to judge what is going to happen with future content, okay? Because that's the only type of evidence that we have to go off of. And based on how they've done Anima and Relic weapons up to this point, and we know that Eureka is going to play some role with them, what makes you think that Eureka is suddenly going to be compelling, that it's going to return us to the days of Titan hard mode? You don't think that as Stormblood goes on, that the requirements in Eureka for the Relic weapon will be eased the same way they are now?
They might, but again, we don't know what the requirements are going to be. I mean, when they talked about Eureka, when they introduced Eureka, Yoshida threw out something like maybe there's like monsters in here that spawn every like X amount of hours or something. They're basically taking all that farming shit from 11. And that sounds like that's going to be Eureka for the new Relic weapon.
I said the same thing about Diadem, and all I got was Fates in the Sky. That's, I mean, you know what I mean?
That you don't even have to do.
Right.
We're expecting Fates in the Sky for Eureka.
I mean, at this point, my expectation has been set so low.
Weapon.
Yeah, well, my expectation of Eureka is pretty bad too, because of Diadem and because of Diadem 2.0.
Yeah,
Diadem's just a giant flop, but it's that.
Well, and it's more that they didn't right the ship whatsoever with the 2.0. Like, if there had been more reason, like I think I would have been encouraged if 2.0 had been at least well received, or at least as well received as Palace of the Dead was, and the fact that it wasn't, and that I mean, god damn, there's no doing Diadem right now. You try to log in and do Diadem right now, it's not happening.
No, and I think a lot of that is, and I've always been saying this with, people are talking about like how stuff is always so hard, and there needs to be, but then they make things easy. I don't like to think of it as like they just dumb stuff down and make it easy. I like to think of it that like, because look, I mean, this isn't 11 era MMO, right? It's more focused on casual players and stuff, and so everything needs to be accessible, I think, instead of like just like you have your hard mode. If you want your hard mode, if you want an easier mode so you can enjoy stuff, you can get into that,
but it comes with a price though, like
Diadem, we're bashing Diadem. I don't think it's accessible. You have to like go to Ishgard. You have to go talk to the counter and shit. Throw that up in Duty Finder. You'll get more people doing it.
I think that's the least
it's
of the
so easy to
concerns
get into
with
it
Diadem.
now, but I think there is that level of entry, that accessibility where it needs to be like really dumbed down so you can just jump into it. And I think that would help Diadem in where you would at least have people doing the content.
If Diadem was fun,
I'm not trying to defend Diadem all the way. Like, don't get me wrong, I still think it's a mess, but I think it's like PvP, right? Where they dumb down PvP a lot. Yeah, there's some people that are upset, but there's some people that are looking forward to it now. And if those people are in the majority, then that's probably for the better at the end of the day.
But if Diadem was fun and or worthwhile, people would happily schlep themselves out to Ishgard to jump into it.
Yeah, that's the thing is that I think that, the lack of interest in Diadem is bifurcated by the fact that it's bad, but it's also not rewarding, right? Like, when you have both of those factors at hand, where, the long-term reward is, like marginally, maybe marginally better stats. And that's not a clear enough reward to signal to people, go here to do your shit. If you gave people a big enough carrot or a juicy enough carrot, they would absolutely spend as much time as they needed to in Diadem to get the thing that they wanted. Nothing's there that people want. And I think that is more indicative of, one of Square Enix's biggest problems that they've had with 14 ever since really A Realm Reborn. And that's been that every 2 patches, everything that we earned before that gets thrown out the window. And that, I think, is a hugely demotivating factor for players, especially long-term players that see this cycle play out over and over and over again. And Kahlo, you made a really good point early on, that, when it was Titan, we had people making the investment because we hadn't been put on the cycle. Mm-hmm. We hadn't been put on the treadmill. We didn't know. We just didn't know. I think that's a great point. Fusion, I know that we've taken up a ton of your time talking about everything that you've written over at Gamer Escape. We're going to take some more calls. I think we've got 4 or 5 people hanging on. By the way, I want to thank Ramina for that call. Fusion, you're welcome to stay on and take calls with us and continue the discussion if you like.
We also appreciate you being in Aniero's punching bag today.
If there are any calls specific to the Stormblood stuff, I can definitely stick around for those.
All right, Kooky, you heard that. So if we've got anyone in the canon that wants to talk about the media tour, then let's get them on and have them ask Fusion a question before we let Fusion go. Otherwise, we'll open up the call lines. You can give us a call. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. And we invite your calls. If you've got a specific question that you want to run by Fusion X that you think we didn't get a chance to ask, or we're not insightful or smart enough to ask, then here's your opportunity. You get to we get to do an impromptu AMA. So if you want to give us a call, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord.
Really, an AMA?
I mean, it's not that. I mean, because you can call
Fusion. What's your bra size?
Wow. Bigger than I'd like.
Juxta, what's yours?
3.
3? That's not how bronze works. Good try.
Like how he just
Juxta the
says
C cup.
I'd believe that, actually. I believe that.
Yeah.
Hey, you got about a C cup.
I think probably about a 40C.
Bigger than a Scalia's. How about that?
That's factually true.
That is accurate.
And until we get that boob fund going again.
I seriously was screwing around with employees at a Hanes one time, and I asked them to do a bra sizing on me, and the lady was just like, honey, your flat chest needs a cami. They're in the back. And I'm like, wow, thank you for that. I guess I'll go buy one of those.
Damn.
Yeah.
Savage.
She wasn't having any of my shit.
Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Narnan Zart on Discord. What's going on, Narnan?
Hello, everyone.
Thanks for calling the show.
So first of all, let me just give a shout out to the London survivors and everyone in London from the bad thing that happened there with the terrorists. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I got a few friends in London and I wanted to give them a shout out.
Absolutely. I actually, a very close friend of mine is over in London today. She was in Manchester for the Ariana Grande concert. And she actually, I got a message during the last show that they got lost in London and had to be walked through the crime scene. Jeez. It's grim. But yeah, absolutely. Shout out to everyone in UK having to deal with that craziness. Hope everyone's okay, and yeah, definitely. If you wanted to shout out your friends, go for it. You've got the floor.
Well, Narnan, well done. You've managed to lower the mood from where we were.
Yeah, I know.
Impressive.
I don't know how that works.
Strategically placed.
That's amazing.
You wanted to call in specifically. You had a question for Fusion, right?
Yes, I actually have 3 questions regarding his hand-on experience with Stormblood. The first,
I will do my best here.
Thank you. The first is quite simple. You mentioned in your article that the zones and the fields like 50% to 75% bigger. What I really want to know is regarding Kugane and the other cities. I'm not sure if you saw other cities. How much bigger do they feel compared to Limsa, Gridania, Ishgard, and Ul'dah?
So Kugane as a whole, and that's it's kind of like what you said too, is when you think about all these other city-states, they're broken into 2 zones, and so where Kugane is one zone as a whole, it's not quite that total of those 2 zones, but it's like, if Ul'dah and Limsa were like 2.0, Kugane would be like a 1.5 or a 1.75. So it's bigger than one zone would be, but I don't think it's quite the size of what those 2 city zones equal into, if that makes sense.
Which I much prefer it this way. Like when you're going through a bunch of story missions in a row, the constant zoning back and forth in between those zones is so obnoxious.
It is.
I would much rather like a slightly smaller overall zone, but only one zone.
Yeah, and I liked the way that it seemed like Kugane was designed, because there seemed to be specific attention paid to the verticality, and
which
that
I love.
And that was something Square Enix may they may have challenges in other areas, but they've really got this idea of verticality and designing good zones that utilize that Z-axis very, very well and very creatively too. One of the things that I'm really really curious to see in Fusion, I'm curious to know how many of the did it feel like the buildings had an internal structure that was fleshed out any more so than any of our existing cities?
I mean, like for example, like I remember going down, there's like a small kind of port area, and they have little warehouses that you could go into, and I mean, it was just like bales of hay or boxes or something like that. But there were definitely some areas you could go into. When I was playing, my focus was just to kind of go through the streets and just kind of look at everything and get footage of that.
Sure.
So I didn't do, it's one of those things where if I could go back, I would do so many things differently.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, and I think you can see it in some of the video I took, but some of these longer roads, you don't go inside the building, but there's stalls or shops that are kind of on the outside, like stalls. But there was one building I know I could go into. I think it's probably the main building. There's the hunt board outside of it and stuff.
Right.
So there's definitely interior buildings and stuff for Kugane, but a lot of it is also accessible. Just kind of outside as you're walking around, so you don't need to duck into all these different buildings for different things.
That's cool. That's definitely cool. Narnan, before we let you go, did you have one more question? Narnan?
Sorry, you broke out. I don't know what you said.
Do you have another question before we let you go?
Yeah, sure. The final question would be, I'm sure you played on a PC, but did you feel any changes in performance, quality, anything from the drop from the PS3 and the improvements to the PS4 Pro patch and all that, or the game felt more or less the same?
I mean, it felt more or less the same to me. I think the one thing I'd point out with regards to diving, so like for the Ruby Sea is what we got to experience. And so they talk about how when they introduced it, it's like, yeah, it's just you go in and there's this transition and it's relatively seamless, but there is loading that takes place. Once you go down, there's that kind of like screen of like bubbles and stuff. That's actually loading in the underwater zone.
Dun, 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 dun.
It doesn't take as long to load as a normal zone. So there's definitely, maybe there's some preloading or something going on there. And maybe that, was able to be done because of dropping like PS3 or something like that. But yeah, it's definitely, a separate zone when you go underwater. And then even in there's your underwater kind of like your little bubble outpost or whatever, that kind of zones as well. So there's definitely something different kind of going on there than what we've seen before. But maybe that's possible because of dropping PS3 support.
So those bubble zones basically just act as your traditional type of zone where you've got, it's just normal gravity and they just like you can fight and battle under there. Am I assuming that?
Presumably. I mean, like, the dungeon, right? The history of the Violet Tides. You can actually see that in that Tour of the East video where they're kind of swimming up towards it. You probably have to like dive down there, and that's probably like where the dungeon entrance is or something.
Gotcha.
Largely underwater though, it's kind of boring.
Ooh.
Which is, I mean, when you think about it, right? Mechanically, it's just flying, but with like a dark blue sky.
Yeah.
And then you can dismount and swim by yourself. But there wasn't much to do. I mean, I wasn't, we couldn't do gatherer or crafter classes or anything like that. So maybe there were some gathering nodes and stuff that maybe I just didn't see, or maybe there's some like sightseeing log stuff down there. I didn't see any of it. Really, to me, when I went down and dove for the first time, it's cool the first time you do it. You're like, oh, yay, swimming. But then it's like, okay, what is this really? It's basically just a big dark blue area with some coral stuff that you have to go between to get into these like little underwater bubble cities. Or whatever.
See, that's kind of what I was concerned about when they said, no underwater combat. Because I granted, look, that would be kind of a pain in the dick to program. I get it.
It would have been cool though.
It would have been.
Would it though? Would it? Have you done underwater combat before, Nika?
Only in WoW when it was awful.
Yeah, it was awful. So
I feel like they could make something happen.
They can't even make normal combat interesting. How are they going to make underwater combat interesting?
I mean, really, when you think about underwater,
different battle system, and that would be too much to do.
Just imagine flying in any zone, but with no enemies. So like, it's like you go out to anywhere, and it's like I'm just gonna like fly around, and it's like nighttime all the time. And I'm just going to gather or like go and grab a quest from this little bubble. Like that's all. It doesn't feel like there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm wrong. And maybe they have some like sightseeing logs spread around, something that'll encourage exploration. But it's weird because when you think about it, especially the Ruby Sea zone, it's a lot of like kind of like little island chunks.
Yeah.
And then the underwater, which it feels bad in a way because there's not that much land up top because of the water, and there's not a whole lot to do under the water, it feels like. And so I don't want to say it's like a big empty space, but I feel like there's maybe not as much to do in that zone as there would be in like a traditional zone where it's all land and there's fighting.
Do you think that they're going to add more stuff, or do you think that that's like the final?
I mean, we know there's gathering underwater.
But you don't want to say it's a big empty space, but it's kind of a big empty space.
It's kind of a big empty space.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it felt like. Well, I mean, it looks nice, but it looks just, it's what you would expect underwater to look like. Right. It's dark blue. There's some rocks and stuff. And it's not like the benchmark where there's giant like squids floating around. And
see, that's what I was going to ask. Like, there's no sense of danger, like nothing at all.
Zero.
Okay.
Zero.
Yeah.
You see some schools of fish and that was it. And you can see a little bit of that in the video that I took. But it doesn't feel like there's a lot going down. Then again, it's a dev build, and who knows what'll change at launch.
True.
In Alice's Law and Heaven's Ward, there's not much going on in that zone either. But as Heaven's Ward progressed, we got a whole bunch of stuff added to that zone. So I have tons of faith in swimming.
Well, like, but
realistically, all they can add is like another bubble thing to go and dive into.
But again, like, how much did we utilize the zones in Heaven's Ward? Not a lot. But But that was a complaint, though. Like, I want to feel like traversing the world has a purpose, and again, you know, it just feels like another repeat of Heaven's Word, where you just kind of cynically go through one zone. It feeds you through a series of levels, and then you go to the next place. And now with this, having so much empty space in there, not knowing how they're going to utilize that at all, man, I just don't know how I feel about that.
You can feel bad.
Well, it doesn't feel great.
I'm hoping they add something to it, right? I mean, we know there's going to be gathering. I'm assuming they'll do sightseeing logs. It feels like they could do that easily, right? Like, I don't know what else they would be able to add because there's no fighting.
Blitzball.
Oh boy, Narnan, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. If you want to call Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We'll take one more call with Fusion, and then we'll let him go because I'm sure that he's got other stuff to do. Got to get ready for
cool kid meeting.
Got to get ready for Twin Peaks tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I take back the cool kid thing then.
Yeah. So I don't know what you're
The
talking
Walking Dead is back tonight too, but I don't care about that right now.
You know, and I know
this week.
That's, you know what, I have to just make a point. You're a big Walking Dead fan. That's a pretty big deal for you to say.
I don't Fear that much. There's something about it. It feels very much like a side story.
Oh, I didn't hear the fear the part. Yeah, I don't care about that either.
Nope. I'm with you, Fusion.
But no, I'm 110% on board with the fucking Twin Peaks train. So
dude, I can't wait.
I'm right there. I'm right there with you. All right, one more call for Fusion. We'll go back to our phone lines and talk to Zect of Sargentanis. What's up, Zect?
Not much. You guys ready for some damn good kafefi?
We're ready.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
don't encourage him.
Yeah.
You're just justifying Juxta.
Yeah. You're telling Juxta that what he wrote, the line and a half that he wrote this morning for our intro is in any way passable or even nearing acceptance.
The only
and it should
reason
not
it was
be.
a line and a half was because the text was bigger. Okay. It wasn't a full sentence.
I know he couldn't. Yeah. Like
he used that double line spacing.
Yep.
You guys are just so jealous that I got a good opening bit and it didn't even take like 20 words.
I just want you to do something for the show.
Anyways, yeah, I do have a question for Fusion though. Like, quick question before I want to talk about what I want to talk about. How does Red Mage feel? Like, I saw how
I didn't play Red Mage.
What?
I had another guy there. He played Red Mage.
What did he think of it?
Put him on the phone.
Yeah. Where's that guy?
Get Charles on the phone.
I feel like I explained this when
Someone
I came on.
get Chuckles, goddammit.
The jobs. But from what I've heard, it's definitely it's cool when you can use your dual cast and you weave in those the slower spells, right? Because you can do like the instant cast with those. From what I've heard, like the people that have played it, they really liked it. Obviously, like MP management is going to be a concern at some point for those longer fights. But we do have refresh as a roll action now, so that'll help. But from what I've heard and what I've talked to Charles about, he enjoyed it. So
cool.
Sorry, I can't get more into detail about that.
No, that's fine. Anyways, I want to talk about, like, I guess I'm just stupidly optimistic for Stormblood just because I'm a big stupid Final Fantasy fan. Like,
I feel you. I'm optimistic too.
Like you guys
Believe it
always
or not.
complain, but at the same time, I understand the complaints. Like, I see where you guys are coming from, and I guess it's just I've never played that many MMOs. Like, this is the first real big MMO that I've played, and I love Final Fantasy. I never got a chance to play 11 because, I never had a job back in the day when I was younger, and like the MMOs I would play, I would play RuneScape, which was shit, Fly for Fun, which was shit, Maple Story, which was shit. So I guess
I'm not gonna argue with that. I mean, for sure, those games were all shit.
And don't get us wrong, 11 was a train wreck in its own special ways.
Yeah, in its own,
every MMO is.
That's the thing is that you've got to remember when we talk about our experience with Final Fantasy 11. It's a little bit like hearing someone talk about those 5 years that they spent with Stockholm Syndrome under the care of some kind of armed militia. Like that's the style of loyalty that Final Fantasy XI inspired. The problem is that there were some really effective gameplay elements that got us to stick around. And the problem, I think, is that we can articulate those things, right? Like, we know what those things are that we liked, and we've expressed them multiple times. And I think as you had said, Zect, that while you can maybe see where we're coming from on a lot of our criticisms, maybe not share them. Some of that may come down to experience. Some of that may, there's like a variety of different of different things that make people come to that conclusion. But I do think that specifically for Final Fantasy XIV players that have been playing for such an extended period of time and been on the same treadmill all the way from 2.0 through the end of 3.0, that the thought of getting back on that treadmill again for 4.0 and doing it again for the entirety of 4.0, that that a lot of the compelling factors have lost their luster from the initial reason that we bought the game or got invested in the game, and we've got to be honest about that, because to deny it, I think, is very disingenuous. And because we are very open with that, I think that it ends up leading us to this idea that there we know or have an idea or can very succinctly say what we want out of the game. And yeah, that comes across as criticism a lot of the time. And it comes off as very critical, but at the same time, I think that it's a very necessary conversation to have, because we have been playing this for so long, because we've got that extended context to be able to rely on. And, of course, the idea of new content or getting back on that train doesn't mean the same thing that it does to you that it does to us. Granted, we have been there longer, yeah. And it's not a way to discount your opinion. It's not a way to say, oh, well, you'll get around to our side of thinking. There are people who have been playing this game just as long as we have that still don't see our point of view. Yeah. That's fine.
There's plenty of them.
Totally fine. And that's totally valid. I'm not here to invalidate anyone's opinion. But this is just, given the amount of investment we've laid out in this, to make the assessment that Square-Enix is looking at an audience that they don't have and trying to court them as opposed to the audience they know they have, I think that that's a pretty objective statement. I think that, when you look at the business decisions and remove, the way that you want to feel about something from the equation, that, yeah, the truth of it is that, we as long-term players are being a bit ignored or being a bit downplayed as we move on here in expansions. And if that's the kind of game you want to play, that's fine, but and again, it's not something intrinsic to long-term players either. This is just, and you can have disagreements about the way that you want a product to end up developing. We don't get to call that. But I mean, to say, oh, well, you guys shouldn't be as cynical as you are, which I'm not saying you are saying that, Zect.
People have.
We have gotten that. We have gotten that.
Yeah, we can't come on here and lie. We can't do it.
I actually want to commend Zek for being able to have a differing opinion for us, but also be adult enough to realize that, hey, everyone gets to have opinions.
Yeah, see,
Thank you, Zek.
Yeah, Zek.
Be like Zek.
Yeah. I mean, so many people think that a differing opinion means that you're a shitlord. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's. I think that's a very narrow point of view on the way that people have disagreements. So,
Zach, a shitlord deals in absolutes.
Holy shit.
Outstanding.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
I was wondering why he was here for this entire episode.
That was it.
That was it.
You can leave now, Juxta.
Yeah.
Bye.
You're dismissed. You can go. Thanks.
All right, got my money. I'm out.
Peace.
Zect, thanks for the call. We appreciate hearing from you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. If you want to call Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Fusion, we're going to go ahead and let you go. I know we've kept you for a really long time, but
that's all good.
I appreciate you hanging out and answering our questions as well as the audience's questions. It's been interesting to get a firsthand perspective on what some of these changes are going to actually end up feeling like, not just looking like on paper. And I think I'm actually a little bit more encouraged and a little less, like this is going to be bad, that the foregone conclusion is that this is going to be bad, as I was last week. So, Fusion, I got
a question for Fusion before he goes.
Okay.
Oh, God. You talked to Yosheep, right?
Yeah.
What did he smell like?
Oh, my gosh.
What?
All right, well, I want to know now,
why
too.
Is that your question?
Because it's Juxta. Why does that surprise you in the least?
Yeah, that shouldn't surprise.
Is he an Axe body spray kind of guy? What?
Fusion, this is not your first rodeo with Limit Break Radio. You should not be surprised by that question in the least.
You would think I wouldn't be.
Yeah. No, you shouldn't be. I'm not.
We weren't sitting right next to him. He was probably a good 7 feet away, so I really didn't have. I wasn't in a good smell range.
Before, like been near him in previous.
I didn't like lean over and sniff him.
You didn't take the opportunity to get right up behind him and just like right over his shoulder.
Never really been.
You know what? To be
you
fair,
smell like nerd, boy.
Fusion, it's not fair of them to come at you like this. Nika, what did Soken smell like? Oh,
Yeah, I don't remember.
Did you not sniff Soken when he was punching your fat cat?
No.
Okay,
Fail.
what did Susan Calloway smell like?
We can't.
Angels.
Hopes and dreams.
I was gonna say we cannot answer this without sounding like the biggest creepers.
I was actually gonna say, yeah.
Hopes and dreams is a pretty good answer,
You
though.
actually have an answer for them.
If she listens to this episode, we'll never hear from her again.
Well, we said happy birthday from her.
Well, hopefully she tuned out after that.
Fortunately, you've got like 2.5 hours between then and now. So
Crimson Tinted says we've gone down a dark road, friends.
Anyway.
Truth.
Fusion, thank you so much for hanging out. It's been awesome to catch up with you. GamerEscape.com is the website. Make sure you go check it out for all of his awesome videos, write-ups, and screenshots from the Stormblood Media Tour, as well as Aetheryte Radio. You guys just recently put out an episode where you guys talk about a lot of your experiences out there at the Media Tour. So go check that out on iTunes as well as over at GamerEscape.com. Fusion, man, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. So let's keep taking a couple of calls here. I know we've got a couple of people hanging on the line. Let's talk to Rendos Eros of Leviathan. What's up, Rendos?
How's it going, everybody?
Good. Thanks for calling Limit Break Radio.
And I just wanted to talk about, you guys mentioned earlier, like they laid out like the patch, like what they were planning on doing each patch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and you kind of, a little bit of a setup for this, but so take A Realm Reborn, right? We're just going to start from A Realm Reborn, and that's a new game. And Heaven's Ward is their first expansion.
Okay.
And Stormblood is the second expansion. So Heaven's Ward seems kind of similar to what A Realm Reborn was. So the same layout, same tomb grind, gear, all that stuff. So now with Stormblood, the setup seems pretty similar, but then they tell you, so do you guys want more of the same? Because like you're complaining that they're going to give you less dungeons or anything like that. Do you want just more of that same shit? Or when they're telling you they're going to do something different per patch?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay, no, well, what
Are you complaining about that?
No. I don't think we're complaining about that. I just think that that's a novel thing to say when you haven't outlined what that content looks like, right? Like that's a cute idea, okay? Right? Let's say I'm talking to Square-Enix, right? Like that's a cute idea to remove.
I forgot to mention I had my birthday on Thursday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Now I am finally celebrating it.
Happy birthday. Zek, thank you. And happy birthday from us here at Limit Break Radio. But no, if I was talking to Square Enix, right? I would just, I'd say, look, that's a cute idea that we're going to get more content at the expense of one of the dungeons every other patch. But we're 2 weeks out from the release of this expansion, and you're not going to tell me what that is? We're 2 weeks out from this expansion, and we don't know anything about Eureka? If it is a rehash of Diadem 2, who's going to want to play it?
Yeah.
Who's going to want to sign up for that fucking grind?
And
no one.
When we came off of Realm Reborn, we were at 3 dungeons and we went down to 2, and we heard the same kind of thing. Not necessarily from SE, but from when we were having this discussion, like, oh my god, they're
from
going
the
down to 2
community.
dungeons. Oh yeah, but what are we going to get in its place? And then we were subject to disappointment for an entire expansion. I have a hard time accepting that again.
And that's exactly like that. That's exactly it. Is that there was a concession that we took from a Realm Reborn to Heaven's Word, where they said, okay, every patch you're going to get 1 less dungeon, right? Like we're going to go from 3 dungeons every patch to 2 dungeons every patch. And we said, okay, that's fine, as long as whatever you make that development time up with is worth it. And what we got out of it was, I'm not even gonna it would be unfair to say Lords of Verminion, right? Like, I'm not even gonna shoulder them with that one. But
that's a wonderful thing.
But the thing is I think that out of that, we justifiably got Deep Dungeon, which is okay, not bad, but limited time span, limited life cycle on Deep Dungeon. And then we got Diadem, which was a disappointment the first time and was somehow even more of a disappointment the second time. I don't know how you do that. Like, frankly, Square Enix, I'm impressed that you were able to fuck up Diadem as badly as you did, having a second go at it. And it's those types of concessions that end up concerning me. It's those types of concessions that make me go, okay, well, if we're losing yet another dungeon for this at the expense of new content, like, at least I can play dungeons. At least I can fucking do dungeons without having to move heaven and earth to get people to participate like you have to in Diadem or Deep Dungeon. For fuck's sake, like, if there's going to be a trade-off, at least tell me what the trade-off is going to be.
Yeah, one more thing to what you mentioned too, and how we had the same structure from A Realm Reborn to Heaven's Ward, even going into Stormblood, just because we know that we're losing 1 dungeon every odd patch and getting some new content, that still doesn't change the overall structure of what we're going to be getting. Tomes, grind for that. We get a raid, then we get new tomes, then a raid, then new tomes. It's still going to be the same grinding structure.
Right. And I think the only thing that we're really advocating for is a change. Is a change in something. Either, a change in the way that the content is presented, or a change in the way that the reward structure is presented. One of those two things has to change, or else I think you end up with a player base, like a long-term, a veteran player base that goes, well, what's the fucking point?
And for me, like, one of the things that worries me is that it's a very small incremental decrease. Like, if they had come out and said, in 4.x, we're actually not going to have dungeons anymore, we're going to something else. Well, then I'd be willing to bet, like, oh, well, you must be doing something else.
You know what my reaction to that would be? Tell me more, Square Enix. I am interested. How are you going?
My attention.
Right,
how are you
abandoning the dungeon structure?
How are you going to supplant that?
That's just a crazy idea. But my point is, like, what I don't like is this, like, a tiny little increment down. It's just 1 dungeon being taken off. Okay, that to me reeks of, well, this is just less content.
Yeah,
that's what's worrisome. And here's the ugly bit. And to be frank, Callow, I haven't been able to get this comparison out of my head since you said it to me.
Ooh.
Square Enix, you to me are Electronic Arts. You are EA to me now. You don't get my benefit of the doubt anymore. Especially not in FF14. So no, I'm not excited about any words that you say to me anymore, just like I'm not excited about any words that EA ever says to me. I have to see it before I believe it with you now.
Yeah.
That goodwill and benefit of the doubt with me is gone. So if I'm up here and I'm not complaining about things like, oh no, Summoner gets Bahamut and Dragoon doesn't get a Wyvern, that's a complaint you get out of me when things are going well.
Right.
That's when I have to, what's something I can nitpick for a fun bit on the show this week? This is bullshit. Your game is bullshit, and every word that comes out of your mouth to me is bullshit.
I'd like to point out that someone commented on last week's show that they needed a Scalia here to even out the salt.
Wow.
A Scalia is a Aniero Jr.
So
little daddy.
So Rendos, I think that sort of more strikes to the heart of our criticism is that more, Square Enix has really lost that benefit of the doubt, the ability to, with their audience, or at least with us, to go, just don't worry about it, guys. We've got this, and for us to sit back and accept that as an excuse, and to where it's more like, okay, well, prove it. You know what I mean? Like that's a cute idea, but you know what? I'm going to criticize that move until and unless the content that you are coming in and replacing that proven piece of content with, is worth doing. So yeah, I think that there's a pretty stark trade-off that ends up happening there. So did that strike at the heart of your question, Rendos?
Yeah, and basically, I think I'm just being a little more optimistic just because I'm looking at it as, okay, they did their first expansion. Now, hopefully, they learn from their mistakes, and in their second expansion, they give us more things that are new and different than just the same old stuff.
We're hopeful. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think a lot of us held out that same hope for Heaven's Word. And I mean, maybe that framing of, okay, well, this is their second expansion, maybe that's a little bit more fair. Maybe that is a little bit more fair. I think a lot of us, come from the approach that, this game came out in 2010 and that's when I bought it. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And so a lot of us think of it in a much longer, area of time.
Yeah.
But I do also think that, they're making a lot of the same mistakes that Blizzard did, but that Blizzard was able to kind of see to the other side of because they had such a massive player base. And I think that Square Enix doesn't have those same margins to gamble with. And that's I think my biggest concern is that we don't have the number of people to lose. Like at some point you lose a critical mass of people, this shit goes down. Like this shit becomes irreparably damaged to the point where they end up putting a free to play model on it, or it just gets shut down altogether. And people poo-pooed me last week when I brought that idea up, is that's where these little concessions end up leading, is that these little concessions end up leading down the path to one big concession once you've hit your critical mass of people leaving and falling off the game. And you don't want to accelerate that, you want to try to stem the bleeding. And I see these moves as accelerating that. And that's my opinion, and clearly Square Enix doesn't agree with me. You may not even agree with me. That's fine. We can still all enjoy the conversation and talking about Stormblood. I mean, it's not going to prevent me from buying it.
I was say, at the end of the day, we're all getting Stormblood in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And we'll know then.
And no one here has ever been advocating for you, our listeners, to Limit Break Radio to cancel your subscription. No one has ever said that. No one has ever advocated for that. No one has ever even, tried to make vote with your feet, make a point to Square Enix and cancel your subscription and let them know how unhappy you are. No one has ever said that. No one has ever encouraged you to do that. And none of us are doing that either. All of us are maintaining our subscriptions. All of us are buying the fucking expansion. So when you sit here and call us haters, like some of these dumb motherfuckers do, I really think that you've got to go back and you've got to, recalibrate that criticism. I mean, most of our criticisms are fairly well calibrated. They're not at you either, by the way, community. They're more, I mean, some of them are.
A couple.
Easing Steps of Faith. That's one that.
That was one that was at the community.
Yeah, yep, I can fairly level that at the community, but most of it is very pointed at Square Enix.
The bulk is straight at Square Enix, which is why we believe they hate us. And in some cases, they're probably justified.
I hate us.
We of course hate us. We couldn't do this show if we didn't hate us.
If I was Square Enix, I'd hate us too.
Yeah, I think so. When are these assholes going to shut the fuck up?
Even though we're not Square Enix.
Good.
We all hate each other, and that's really what we should all take.
No, if I was Square Enix, I would love us. What are you talking about?
No,
Nika, I hate you the most.
I hate you the most too.
Well, there.
Man, that's just beautiful.
Glad we got that all out. Rendos, thanks for the call. Appreciate hearing from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715. LimitBreakRadio.com/Discord. We're taking your calls as we wrap up the show here. We got about 15, 20 minutes left here in the show. Let's hear some more. Like there were some more out of these.
Some of these interviews.
That you get. Yeah.
Some of the more interesting things are. We're gonna go ahead and skip over that level boost stuff there. Okay, here's one that there's not a really big answer here, but this one actually kind of surprised me. The question was, will Estinian play a major role in Stormblood since his disappearance? I never really thought or even entertained the idea that Estinian would come back for some reason. Yeah, but the answer was, please look forward to it, which makes me think that...
Oh, my God.
That, yeah, they're going to bring Estinian back, guys.
I think it would be cool if we saw him as like a cameo in one side thing while he's like on his journey and then he's gone again. He should not be like part of
I want literally us to just be doing stuff, and occasionally you'll see him like walk by in the background doing something else, and you're just like, was that Estinian?
Awesome, and I would be totally on board for that.
Why is he here?
You know, there was actually a question. I forget if it was in the Dual Shockers interview or if it was in the one by Nova Crystals, but the question was, would you say that there is more of a focus on a character-driven narrative in Stormblood than there was in Heavensward? And one of the things that Yosheep says is, first of all, that he tells the MSQ and the Quest team that the focus should always be the Warrior of Light. Everything that's happening should be driven by his decisions, and he should affect the people around him, which I think we see all the time.
Yeah.
But one of the comparisons he made was that in Heavensward, our sort of quote-unquote party was us, Alfie, Ysael, and Estinian, right? And we got them into our party and we traveled with them. He said in Stormblood, you're going to be meeting a lot more people who are sort of like joining you in your party a lot more often, but as a result, as people join, people will also be leaving as well. So I think that means that we're going to see a much bigger cast of characters, but I think that if they're going to bring Estinian in, I think they're actually going to use him, and I could see him maybe coming in that aspect, helping us with something small or a short period of time, and then leaving again to do his own thing.
It's something to keep in mind. I mean, we had a big reset between A Realm Reborn and Heavensward, where we didn't know where our companions were. We don't have that same unease or question mark or there's not that same mystery moving into this one. We know where all of our companions are. If you thought about it as like a board, a game board, right? Like we know where all of our pieces are, right? Like we know where all of our critical players are. There's no one that's unaccounted for anymore. Whereas at the end of A Realm Reborn, we were very isolated. All of our friends had just either, ostensibly, as we thought, died or
prisoners
or in prison. Yeah. So, I think that there is the narrative ability to make that work. And I know that there was a big groan about Estinian coming back, whatever. It makes sense, if you're going to be recruiting people to some kind of rebellion or some kind of some kind of uprising, then you're going to want
the Azura Dragoon,
like
former.
I get that.
Want them on their side,
and I like the idea too of your party kind of swapping out more frequently, because the unfortunate problem of an MMO is that your main character is always the least interesting part of the group. So when you're with Alphino, Ysael, and Estinian for a long chunk of time, they become far more integral to the story than you do. You're just the muscle wherever you go.
Yeah, but see, I prefer having the same... because what then ends up happening when you swap characters in and out is if there's a character that really outshines everybody else or one that you're really drawn to, now you don't get as much time with them, and the game doesn't have as much time to develop them because now they're sharing the spotlight with other people who may or may not be as interesting or less interesting. Right. I would prefer to have that solid group of people that are there throughout the entire thing.
You know what I think? It was? I think Square-Enix heard our interview with Estinian and they were like, this guy knows what's up. We
need him back.
We can't let him...
This guy's going somewhere.
Exactly. Like, we can't let this guy, can't just let him fall off the radar.
Gisela brings up an interesting point in the chat. Maybe Estinian will play a role in the Dragoon job quest line. That's also very possible. That's where his appearance will be this time around.
You know what? That's actually a pretty simple way to interpret that answer then.
Actually,
that makes a lot of sense.
All right. Yep.
Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Sensi of Sargentanis. What's up, Sensi?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We got you.
What's happening?
Going to be a girl.
There are no girls on the internet.
Senji. I'm sorry, Senji.
I promise we exist. Girls, where are you? Call in, girls. We need you.
Nick is not a girl.
You're barely a girl.
I am extremely a girl.
Why? By the way, Nika, why does your character look like
to be
awful?
No, I was gonna say like you look like a replicant from Blade Runner. What the shit is this?
They're all loosely based off of Nier. He knew what I was doing with Tubi. My monk looks more like Tubi.
Yeah, well, you could even say
You're not wearing pants, Nika. Put pants on.
Tubi doesn't wear pants.
I'm sure that Blade Runner was a big influence to something
Considering
like
the first Nier also uses replicants.
Yes.
But there, my monk looks more like Tubi. They were all inspired by Tubi. Good job. Good job, Kahlo.
Your monk is trash.
No, you're trash.
You're all weeaboo trash.
Senji, thanks for calling the show. What's up?
I just want to say praise Juxta.
Oh my! Drop that call!
Don't encourage him. Do not encourage him. No.
God, first he's not a girl, now he's praising Juxta. Drop him from the show.
Yeah, stop that. No.
You know what? That's strike two.
Okay,
Strike
let me get to
two.
my real point.
You get one more.
I just had a couple of things I wanted to say about the Salted Joe sessions.
Okay.
And it just seems to me like I have to agree with him and you guys at the same time because it seems like they are making a lot of concessions towards those new players, forgetting about us people who have been here since 1.0.
Your mic is kind of cutting in and out there, but I think what I heard you say is that you agree with the fact that they've been making tons of concessions since 1.0.
Yes.
Okay.
And it just seems like with Jump Potion, with all these advertisements that they've been doing recently.
Oh my God, you're not kidding.
Right? It just seems like they're really pushing to get a bunch of new people. There's not really, I haven't seen much done except for the super, I don't know if you guys heard about the Super Savage one fight they're putting in.
Yep. No, we're definitely going to get to that. We haven't had a chance to talk about it just yet. Thanks for the call, Senji. It was a little tough to hear you. Sounded like maybe your mic attenuation wasn't turned quite low enough, and that it was just kind of clipping the ends of what you were saying. But that's exactly kind of what we've been getting at, is these small concessions over time end up adding up to one big concession. And I think that big concession, like at what point for you as a player does it reach an untenable point? Because I think for most people it's not there yet, and I'm not saying it's there for me either. But what my point has been is that if this is indicative of the way that the game is going to continue developing from this point on, that it is not inconceivable that somewhere down the line, 5.0, 6.0, whatever, that the bleed from the player base is going to be so great that Square Enix is going to have no choice other than to take it to a free-to-play model.
Exactly. The idea is, if they're always thinking we need more players, we need new players, we need new players, once what they're doing isn't bringing in new players, well, if it goes free-to-play, now more people will try it.
Yes, and the thing is Senji brought up a really good point, is the marketing that we've been seeing around FF14 has been frustrating, because I think especially
makes you want a honey bun, especially
with marketing. I think most people who see that ask why, right? Like, if you're because it takes money. Like you've got to pay money to get your logo on a fucking cinnamon bun or a Carl's Jr. cup or whatever it is. Like, that costs money, right?
Right.
Why is any amount of money being spent to attract a new audience, and why in the world is it being spent in the areas that it is? Because that's the thing. That's what I think I don't understand the most, is the fact that who exactly are you attracting with sponsorships of WrestleMania and cinnamon buns and Carl's Jr. and fucking what other
stupid O2 is just a mobile network.
Okay, not Juxta for that
just
one.
Randomly. Like imagine it's just like,
John's.
hey, Verizon. Yeah, all right, there, Papa John's. That's a good one. What a lot of people don't realize, because like, oh, it's just advertising. Okay, but it's not just advertising. There are entire careers that are made deciding how you're going to market, who you're going to market to. Okay, they didn't just pull freshly Cinnabons out of a fucking hat. Someone actually had a good, legitimate, in-depth reason why, or I would hope, why putting the Stormblood logo on Cinnabons was a good idea. Why that was the right choice, okay? You put movies on shit like that because it's a reminder that, hey, this is coming out, okay? Nobody that picks up a Cinnabon is going to look at it and go, oh, Final Fantasy Stormblood, I forgot about that. Let me go back and play it.
Yes, and these specifically these marketing decisions, to me, reek of someone who did marketing maybe 15 years ago that has no concept of who the target audience is or is supposed to be.
I think
and it's just throwing shit at the wall.
Like, I've seen Call of Duty advertised on Mountain Dew. That makes sense.
Yes, yes,
perfect
but
sense.
like the places that we've been seeing the Stormblood ads are just weird.
Random. They're random.
Mrs. Freshly.
Yeah.
It does, see, and you mentioned they didn't just pull it out of a hat. Why
They
does
might
it
have.
feel like they did?
They might have. I'd like to go all the way back to when A Realm Reborn was being advertised. Nika, on one of our shows, you brought up, because I don't think any of us had seen it at the time, you had brought up that they actually had a cool commercial that came out where like all these people were like gathering, and then they did this really cool shift
Yeah,
where they all
like turn into the
they all
characters.
turned into their characters.
It was really cool. I saw it on
Exactly.
TV. It was actually on television. I have not seen a Stormblood commercial on television.
Yeah, see, that makes sense. Something like that would, I think, entice
And that
someone.
would grab any gamer who's ever played a game, even
Yes.
as simple as Super Mario, would be like, "Oh, this looks really cool."
That makes sense in attracting
Rather than seeing
new
a
people.
picture of the what is it? Is it still
logo.
Xenos in all the
Yeah.
the logos?
It's just the logo.
Like, on Honey Buns, like I'm way more likely to see a commercial or even see it on Mountain Dew and be more interested than in Honey Buns.
Honestly, Nika, you're most likely to not even register that that's the FF14 Stormblood logo. You're more likely, if you have a passing interest in video games or Final Fantasy, you'll most likely register that logo as something related to Final Fantasy 15.
Square trying to recruit all the little children. Wait for the Final Fantasy Doritos and Mountain Dew.
No, both of those would make way more sense.
Both make more sense.
Those are fine.
But instead, we're seeing it in really weird places. Like, I kind of understand the Papa John's thing, but the thing with Papa John's is it was like, you were already playing this game, so we're going to tweet it out to you on the 14 Twitter to let you know that as a reward, we're giving you this deal. Like, it was more like, don't miss your Duty Finder queue because you already play this game. Like, there was no advertising to people who don't play 14 to use the code.
Right.
That was even weirder. So that clearly was, I don't know what that was. I don't know. 15 is all over the media right now. 15 is all over the commercials. 14 is not.
That's what I'm saying, is if you see a Final Fantasy logo and you're not invested in any of the content that Square Enix or Final Fantasy is even putting out, you're most likely going to write that logo off as something for
Especially
FF15.
when there's an X and a V in it.
Exactly.
Instantly. Boom.
You can make Stormblood as big on that motherfucker as you want. The only
new
thing,
DLC out, it's whatever.
the only thing that people are going to fucking remember is, oh, it's a thing for Final Fantasy. And if you're eating a honey bun, who cares? Like, why do you think that that's going to be, that you're going to get even one person in the door?
And let's be honest here. If you're eating a Mrs. Freshly, you can't afford a monthly sub fee anyway.
It's true. If you were gonna, you know what? If you were gonna spring for the real one, you'd get the Big Texas cinnamon roll.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Ooh, actually, well, that sounds kind of good right
Big
now.
Texas cinnamon rolls are legit.
I think I might get one of those on the way home tonight.
Well, to be fair,
we have them sometimes down in the lobby.
Really?
Yeah.
To be fair, I think that Ascali is into anything big and from Texas.
Fair. Anyway, thanks for the call, Senji. Appreciate hearing from you. We're going to take, I think, one more call. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord.
Praise Juxta Butter. I put the shit on everything. From toast to my long fellow loins. Boom.
Boom.
Gross.
Boom.
Gross.
Can we not take
Juxta
another caller?
butter all over your face.
No.
And your mouth and
That's
under
not
your
okay. None of that is okay.
Can we just go home?
Yeah. We can just, you ruined it. You ruined it. Congratulations.
I don't know if
we're
it's
just going home now.
If it's maybe the heat in here or something, but
the heat is
that really got like the vomit all the way up to my mouth.
Could you imagine if Juxta was here, how much worse it would be?
Oh, terrible.
Jeez.
It's really cold up here right now, where I'm at right now. I'm actually
Go to
wearing
hell.
pants.
Go to hell.
Got a nice little blanket all wrapped around me. It feels nice.
I hate you so much.
Okay, so guys, have you heard about what they're doing to sprint? The action?
Everybody's in the sprint now without using TP?
It doesn't cost TP.
Yeah, but it also has a recast of 60 seconds, and it lasts 10 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. No, I didn't hear about that.
Fuck Stormblood.
But is that going to be during battle or just outright about
all the time?
Because I can see them using it now as a mechanic, like in order to avoid a big AoE, you have to sprint.
No, I definitely hope you have to sprint as a mechanic now.
People already, do that in some cases, but only once every minute?
Yeah, that seems...
Yep, doubling the recast.
Oh.
And
shortening, because it lasts longer than 10 seconds, doesn't it?
If you have full TP.
Yeah, it depends on how much TP it consumes. Which for Dragoons is frequently not very much.
All right, let's go ahead and take our last call of the night. We'll talk to Crimson Tinted of Balmung. What's up, Crimson?
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Good. What's happening?
All right, so I have 2 quick points to make. Thankfully, all the content in the calls before me largely made the rest of them so I could set up for this. But I feel like we're in a situation now with Stormblood where we have gotten a wealth of information. The press tour embargo's been lifted. We know so much now, I think enough to say with confidence. I say this from the perspective of a veteran. All the credit that Square Enix had with me for releasing content and me trusting that it was going to be any good from A Realm Reborn is gone for me. I'm going to echo Nikalia on that, but where I go with that is as a result of that loss of credit, which is felt amongst many veterans at this point, I feel like it's time for Square Enix to do more to socialize the new systems and improvements they make to this game, more than just a press tour here or a slight interview there.
Yeah,
I feel like we've hit the point where we need to start getting things like test realms. So they need to start involving bodies of players being invited into maybe some kind of like closed beta situation to experience the content and vet it and vet the battle changes in the balance.
Crimson,
I think that's where we need to go.
Crimson, I totally agree with that. And the thing is I like the idea of a PTR, especially for FF14, because I think Square Enix taking the we're going to design content in a vacuum approach has not worked since the community has figured out how to play the game better than they can design it.
Well, I got news for you guys, because come 5.0, we're only going to get 2 dungeons every other patch, but a PTR in place.
You know what? Right now, straight up, I'd make that trade. I kind of would too. I would take 2 dungeons every other patch in exchange for a public test realm, so I could at least tell them, "Hey, this sucks," before they put it out.
I mean, that's not a terrible point there. That's a pretty good point. That if you bring in a public test realm, that means that you are going to be soliciting feedback on your content and soliciting your feedback on the way that the battle structure is moving forward. And I think all credit to Square Enix, because they've run an MMO in a closed loop in a QC environment now for 3 years, and that alone is really impressive. Like that, you've got a pretty good idea of the way that your game runs if you can do that, if you can pull that feat off. But as I had said before, the community really, especially when you have a big active player community, is going to be able to think around the problems that you put in front of them far quicker than you're able to gauge. And they've tried putting us up against artificial DPS walls. They've tried putting us up against mechanics or variety. And at every turn, like, we as a community go, but that part of it's too hard. I can't get my retarded brother through it. Like, okay, well, maybe he shouldn't, you know? Like, that's my problem, is that, like, this notion that literally everyone needs to see every aspect of FF14, I think that's a very flawed way of making sure that the designers get validated. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like, oh, well, this guy spent a lot of time making this zone, and we don't want people to not see it because this guy would be upset. Fuck that guy.
Exactly. I totally agree, and we have more than enough evidence at this point with data to back it up that reactive rate adjustments on every patch has been a disaster.
Exactly.
For multiple tiers of Heavensward, a disaster.
You've got to bring your community in on your QC development level to be able to figure out if you, and especially for rating. Again, I think that's where Square Enix gets rating really wrong, is that they do it in this vacuumed off environment from, and even in God mode, you know what I mean? Like it's this incredibly, unrepresentative environment to what their players actually end up experience. And it's how Square Enix could be looking at the reaction to Stormblood with, and not understand it, or understand why people maybe feel burned by Heavensward, or feel burned by the cycle, or burned out by the whole thing. I think that's just, if they don't get it, then they're just being naive. Thanks very much, Crimson. We appreciate the call. Really good discussion here, guys.
Definitely.
I really I appreciated all the calls. Also appreciated Fusion being along to give some firsthand accounts of what hands-on with Stormblood is going to be like. And again, I am a little bit more encouraged just based on that conversation than I was walking away from last week's show. And it seems like less people want to crucify me this week than they did last week. So that's fortunate too. But and I think that's the thing, is that, people were ready to jump all over me last week, and then some of these interviews started coming out, and they went, oh, we're getting one less dungeon? Like, oh, they're not getting it. They're not going to, clue us into what, actual genuinely new content we're going to be getting with Stormblood. They didn't even say shit about the Evilise raid
or Eureka.
Yeah, maybe.
Or Sprint.
Maybe these guys have a fucking point. Like, maybe they're right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I'm always right. So,
No, I'm always right.
Well, I'd just like to point out that we had quite a few callers today that straight up said, as a veteran player, I agree with you.
We're not making it up.
Yep. So, those people on, in the chat last week, or on Something Awful, who really, wanted to kind of jump all over us for our outlook on the whole thing. I really want to, again, I want to commend our callers, who, even the ones that did have a different opinion, that did want to try to inject a little bit of optimism into the conversation, that, the way that they approached it was really, I mean, it led to more conversation. It led to more discussion. It led to people. I think now that we've had 2 weeks to talk out all of these concerns and frustrations, that now we're kind of coming to this middle ground where people are like, okay, like I understand some of these reservations. I'm still going to be excited. We don't want you to not be excited for Stormblood, by the way. That's not the goal here. But that you can still maintain excitement for Stormblood and have concerns about the direction that the future of this game is going in. And again, a lot of people really took umbrage with the idea that this game could go free to play, or that I said that this game, that, during my discussion with Joe, that I had said, that the natural extension of all of these concessions is eventually going free to play. And I still stand by that. I totally stand by that opinion.
I would agree with you if 11 ever went free to play. It didn't. This won't.
I mean, I think actually 11 had maybe some technical complications.
Well, I think they let 11 fizzle enough to the point where it's not.
It
worth
almost became
worthless the time to let it go until it goes. But I actually do think that they'll just shutter this game before they let it free to play.
Really?
I think so.
Why do you think that? I don't think they would.
I think it's a pride thing. I think they before announcing that their 14 is free to play.
No.
Like I think they will just shutter it.
No, I think because a free to play model was not even an emerging thing when Final Fantasy XI was toward the end of its life.
Yeah.
It was a very valid approach that a lot of companies were taking, and I think that they built in a failsafe that they have if they needed for.
Yeah, well, not to mention.
I think Square Enix is smart enough where I think they've laid out enough of a groundwork where if they needed to go free to play tomorrow, they would.
Yeah, look at the cash shop alone. The cash shop is massive.
Yeah,
and they're constantly like every 2 or 3 weeks you see new stuff added, optional items added.
Optional items added.
And that's exactly it. And again, none of that is a clear 100% 1-to-1 ratio indicative that yes, this game is going free to play. And I know that in 7 months it's going free to play. No, all I'm saying is that the decision making from a top-down level is what ends up leading to those types of decisions. And I don't like that. I will always be skeptical of that and always feel like that's money grubbing. So that I really want to I really want to thank everyone for their calls. I really appreciate hearing from all of you. Juxta, you had found last week that the forum community Something Awful had latched onto the show. Like we had like 500 people watching last week, which I mean it's pretty good up against our 447 right now. But there were a lot of people from I think Something Awful. Like we definitely got on their radar for sure in a big way from this. And I know that Juxta, you had collected a lot of these comments with great joy and glee.
They're good comments. I love them.
There's a lot of gems in here. I'll say that much.
You want to give us one? You want to dust off one of those gems and share it with us on the show?
Sure.
All right.
This is like the first one that sparked off the whole thing, and they linked us our Twitch chat to the thread, and it's from Sonic Rules
with a Z. What was his avatar, by the way?
Oh my gosh!
Hopefully, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Was it
It better have been Sonic.
Was it a paid avatar? Like did he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
It was a blue elephant.
Oh, okay.
Like one of those like little baby type elephants you'd see like in like a little nursery thing or something.
Aw, it's cute.
Yeah. Anyway, he says, holy shit, I thought you guys were kidding about how serious some people are taking the jump potion thing. I never really hang out on Twitch, but I saw a Final Fantasy XIV radio show on there and decided to check it out. One dude is so incensed
that would be me.
Idea this is Aniero. So incensed by the idea of a jump potion that his logical conclusion that Final Fantasy XIV would become free to play followed by it becoming pay to win sooner than later. I get that these hardcore guys are upset that some casual players are going to suddenly jump towards their position. I don't totally feel the same way, but I understand some of their points. This stuff is nuts, though. I'm not shitting on their podcast or anything, but it's seriously blowing my mind to hear this. There's some serious salt going around.
So,
I don't know though how much under a rock you have to live to not realize that people are actually like have other opinions other than your own.
Well, not just that, but
like no, he's like it's not nothing about their podcast. It's blowing my mind to hear that people don't like this. Like,
no, I think what he was saying is that it was blowing his mind to hear people talk so with such passion about it, right? Because I think
that's what we do though. This is radio.
Right. Yeah, this is someone who's clearly never listened to the show before.
Didn't they say they don't hang out on Twitch often?
Yes, that is true.
Yeah,
and the thing is I think that there's expectation. If you're coming from another podcast, if you're coming from another video game talk show, I think that the expectation is that most people end up talking like this.
Okay, now it's my turn.
I'm sorry. Wait,
to
hang
talk.
on. No. I gotta make it sound a little bit more authentic by being back here, and so you can't really clearly hear me, especially comparative to you guys. But you can kind of hear. You can hear me just enough that it's fucking annoying.
Animals in the background.
But you're not supposed to have
you and you can't.
You're not supposed to have like any like emphasis in your voice.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yes, you're supposed to be monotone and objective because you need to be afraid that if you show emotion, that someone is going to make fun of you. And you know what? Here's really the lesson, Sonic Rules, that I want you to walk away with if you happen to be listening again this week, and that is that when you're an entertainer and you want to sit down and you want to entertain a group of 449 people, generally what you need in there is a little bit of emphasis and a little bit of emotion. Now, if you're curious, you know what? Again, I'm going to stand by absolutely every point that I've made. I do think that, given these decisions, that you will end up seeing an FF14 that becomes free to play and eventually pay to win, because if it goes free to pay or free to play, there's no way that it doesn't eventually become pay to win. Okay? So, given that, if you don't deliver that with any conviction, you're not going to be able to convince anyone that your ideas are worth even listening to. And I don't know. Okay, no, you know what? I take that back. I do know you've never listened to this show before.
Also,
and
it's just fun.
I'm going to let
fun
you
to get passionate about things you care about.
Is.
Like, why would you sit here and be like, "Yeah, I'm not."
Why do you want to? Yeah, why do you want to listen?
Why have a podcast about a game that you say you like if you don't have any passion for it? Like, let's be real.
Yeah. Why? Well, yeah, exactly. Why do you want to listen to four people sit around and agree with each other for 3 hours?
Not take risks at all.
Exactly.
Like, isn't that what everything in any kind of business or life at all, even in hobbies, isn't the way that you get better or the way that you learn new things or the way that you have fun is by taking risks. If you play it safe all the time and you just sit back and just do that's boring. And
because I think the reason that you don't take risks if you're doing something like this, if you're involved in a podcast or a talk show or a Twitch stream, the reason that you don't take risks is because you're afraid of what people think of you.
Yeah, that way you can't fail, guys.
You're afraid of how you end up coming off. You're afraid of alienating any section of your audience. And
I feel like you can't be a person in media or in the public eye at all if you have that fear.
Yeah, I agree.
It comes with the territory regardless of how, look how straightforward some of the other podcasts are and they still get shit. Like, if you worry what people think about you, you're never going to have a good product.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Can I read my favorite one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this comes from Velthus, who's says his avatar was anime weeb undergirl zombie pirate girl with tits hanging out, and it was very unironic.
Oh, good.
Now, he actually lists, in order of quality, a bunch of different podcasts and shows. Xenos Unchained at the top, followed by Mr. Happy State of the Realm, Frosty TV's Mog Talk, and then Us. I'm only going to read the Us description because it's perfect, and we need to start using this
and the other
everywhere.
ones are it's not bad, but it's not great, blah,
okay,
blah, blah.
But we need to use this everywhere because this is brilliant.
Okay.
Limit Break Radio, hosted by a bunch of fucknuts that played 11 and wish that 14 was 11-2. They have a great bunch of ideas, like Duty Finder as a concept being a horrible idea that destroys the community, and believe
Never said that.
I know exactly.
And believe that Yosheep is the great Satan sent to ruin their game and deliver it unto the casual scum.
Oh my god.
Only listen to this ironically, or if you want to hear the hosts get fucking owned by one of their callers, which probably happens once an episode. And no, that never happens because people who would dissent with us never call in.
That's true.
And I love the guy's response. This is Meldonox afterwards responds to that and says, I think you just sold me on this one.
Exactly, yes.
The others sound like a chore to listen to, whether or not I care about the subject matter.
Thank you.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, that's exactly it. Like, if you want to listen to people drone on about a game and continually blow it and give it undue praise and tell you all the reasons that they think you should keep playing, by all means, go listen to another FF14 podcast.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, you have no shortage of options to choose from. But the thing is that's not what you get here. And I think that in and of itself, just set up against the other shows, is refreshing. And refreshing enough that we pull in 449 people on a Sunday, or 30,000 people on an MP3 download. So, if you're surprised, if you can't wrap your head around why people would talk about a game like this, I don't know what to tell you.
Listen, he said,
and there's a couple of comments here that I also wanted to get to. Wonder Turbine, and somebody also said this in the chat a couple of moments ago, which I thought was funny. It says, "Why are you listening to Limit Break Radio? It's like the Alex Jones of FF14 discussion." And that's fine if that's a way to characterize someone's content that automatically dismisses them out of hand. But the thing that Alex Jones does, that every media personality has always done, going back to Lenny Bruce and his ability to shock people on stage with the language that he used, is that there is, as much as people don't want to admit it or want to bemoan the fact, there is an attention economy out here, and it is difficult to be able to, because the thing is that getting attention is like akin to promotion. You can't self-promote anymore. The only thing that you can do is hold up a severed Halloween mask covered in fake blood to be able to market yourself anymore, get enough fucking attention to get your name out there,
or get fired.
Exactly. And then suddenly people want to fucking blow that up as the reason why fucking things are crumbling. Like, fuck off, man. Like, you've got to be passionate. You've got to find a unique stroke or a unique way to present your content so that you can end up standing out from the rest of the bland assholes that are farting out content every fucking week.
Well, Brother Entropy actually replied to that Alex Jones thing and says, is a description like that supposed to make me not want to listen to it?
Dude, a lot of people like it's a age-old radio tactic. If you're the biggest asshole on the air, people are going to listen.
Yeah, and there's actually quite a few comments that are defending us as well, which surprised me.
I'm actually confused by how many people actually said Aniero had a fake radio voice or was trying too hard. There are multiple voices.
By the way, that guy said that all we want is for 14 to be 11 too. There was a long time where I said, no, fuck you, that's not what I want, but I'd take it right now over what the game is. You know what? That's one thing I have changed my stance on. Right now, you'll promise me 11-2 instead of 14? I'll take it.
I 100% disagree with you on that.
I'll take it.
Sonic Rules actually commented later on, and this must be in response to people who were defending us. Considering the elitist attitude they showed during the time I listened today, I'm not really all that surprised that you'd stick up for them, TBH.
Like, are they calling out that guy for being elitist? Because
somebody.
What I want to know is
someone who's defending.
Yeah, someone who was talking. Yeah, so I'm wondering if these people are consistently within this forum and they all know each other.
Oh yeah. That's something awful.
Well, I really know how something awful works.
Okay, let me explain to you how it works, Nika. It's an old school forum system, sort of like the LBR boards were, except all of these mental degenerates pay $5 to get in, and pay. Is it 10? Oh, I'm sorry. $10 to get in, to have the privilege to be able to post on their forums. And then what happens is that they shell out another $5 to put an avatar on their account, or have a piece of flair next to their name, or some stupid bullshit.
Wait, why didn't we do that for LBR's forums?
We
were sitting on a gold mine.
We couldn't even get $5 for people to be Starbreakers. How are we going to get them to pay $10 just to post?
I mean, that's. Rich Kayaka's a smart guy for figuring out that he had the ability to do that.
Yeah.
If you're one of the dumb motherfuckers that pays that $10 for the right or the privilege, the privilege to post on that board, man, why are we even bothering to read these?
Hold on. Another good one. Espelay. He quotes Aniero. I am beginning to appreciate Tanaka. All right, that's my out.
No, to be fair, I was pretty out of the conversation at that point too. No.
Okay, he didn't say he agreed with everything Tanaka did. He said he's appreciating Tanaka. There's a difference.
I can appreciate Tanaka's attitude, and specifically, that was actually more in reference to the way that he ran Final Fantasy XI, and less of a reference to the way that he ran 1.0.
Mm-hmm. You can appreciate the way Attila the Hun dominated his opposition.
I never really liked the way that he was so hands off with the community. I looked at him and I saw a big scary Japanese man who didn't care about anyone. I wanted to step on and squish them.
Totally.
Whereas when I look at Yosheep, regardless of the bad things he's doing, he's still
more accessible.
I mean, from the day one that he took over, and he was putting out these forum posts and like these letters from the producer that were, that he would put out and say, hey, this is what I want to do. What do you guys want to see? I was like, wow, this is leaps and bounds above Tanaka.
But that attitude that Tanaka had for 11, that was fuck you, this is the way that it is. I appreciate that. Like far more than this oh well, we'll see what we can do about making single action combos. No, this is where Yoshi P, in a moment like that is where Yoshi P needs a little bit more of Tanaka, where you're
right, he's a little too passive, and he is actually someone who's afraid of the bad criticism.
Yeah, I agree.
He needs a little bit more and just a little oomph into his fighting speed.
See, I feel like if I had ever gotten a chance to to challenge Tanaka, that he may have actually fist fought me, right? He
fist fought you and then banned your character.
Yeah,
and laughed when you made a GM call about it.
Right? Yes, exactly.
No, he might have whipped out a katana and finished you off right then and there, severed your head.
So I think that was my point by saying I appreciate at least a little bit of Tanaka. I wasn't saying
not everything he did was great.
Yeah, this is not a movement to rehire Tanaka.
No.
I just want to be very, very clear about this. Here's another one from Leo Fish. I clicked in for about 30 seconds and they were dumbstruck at some guy calling in to say that there's a huge demand for single button consolidated combos in PvE, and that is why it's bad to cater to casuals. Yeah, that's pretty much.
I'm still dumbstruck about that.
I am,
and I
too.
don't frankly believe it.
Okay, the people on Something Awful think that moving towards a single button combos would be a good thing.
They also think that paying $10 is a good idea to allow them to post. Clearly, we're not dealing with a group of people who have all of the marbles. They don't. They're just fucking, is it 1998? Why are you paying $10 to post on a goddamn forum? Now they're going to go back and look. They're going to look up my forum account and go, oh, well, this guy's a goon too. Why is he? Because I was dumb enough to pay that $10.
No.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I did it at one point too.
Did you really?
Not. That was specifically because Juxta was running a D&D type campaign through Something Awful, using Something Awful people, and I wanted to be part of it.
Juxta, you paid for it too?
Oh, Juxta's absolutely. Juxta's the longest standing goon of all of us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it's just me and Nika who haven't?
Right.
Nika's actually.
Yeah, no, because I had heard of Something Awful, but honest to God, I didn't know anything about it I didn't know anything about its structure until just now.
So here you go, Something Awful, gay lords. We're goons. Fuck off. Ha ha.
Go
dumb
post on
shit.
there.
I don't care. That's the thing is I've always kind of known that at some point the goon swarm is going to come down on us. And the thing is fuck you. I've been a part of your community. I see what shit you guys fucking come up with. Man, go back to making Slenderman posts and quit fucking
is that where Slenderman came from?
It is.
Oh, wow.
Slenderman, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some really cool shit on Something Awful that exists on Something Awful, and some great discussions that I've been a part of on Something Awful.
Is that where the SCPs all started? And
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the SCP is a different thing. I think that was an unfiction forums thing.
I know a lot of them were born out of creepypastas and stuff like that.
Well, and creepypastas, between the unfiction forums and Something Awful forums, that's where a lot of those, kind of trace their origins back to.
Hashtag bring back the LBR forums. No, never.
Nope.
Go fuck yourself. How about that?
No. Oh, SCP was 4chan.
Oh, okay.
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
Yeah. Anyway, 4chan is the other. That's sort of the unspoken one. That's the one that no one really likes to mention.
We all know about, but we don't talk about.
Yeah, exactly. It's the embarrassment of everything, everyone, really. Anyway, all right. That's going to do it here, guys.
It's hotter than balls.
It really is.
It's really hot in my house too.
Yeah, and we let this thing run over by a while. So, again, thank you for your calls, for your comments on Something Awful, you dumb shits. And also, thank you to Fusion X for joining us today to talk about his hands-on experience with the Stormblood Media Tour, and one that we really did We were looking to be able to figure out how to get out there, and then the opportunity for E3 kind of fell in our lap, and it was like we had to make a choice, and
we should be able to make that worthwhile to all you guys.
I think we will. Yeah. I think like once you guys end up hearing the E3 content from both Final Encountercast and from Checkpoint, I think that decision is going to end up really end up paying off some dividends, because one of the most well-liked shows that we ever do is our FanFest coverage, and so we're looking to do something similar from our FanFest coverage with the E3 2017 coverage. So look forward to that. We're going to be super excited to be presenting that to you. All right, guys, that's going to do it here for Limit Break Radio. I want to thank everyone for listening. Everyone who's been hanging out in studio and
apparently think that we're recording. We are very much live.
Oh no, yeah, we are definitely live. How do you take live calls if this is a fucking recording?
Be impressive.
We must have pre-recorded those two.
Oh.
No, let me tell you something. I did that for Voices of Vanadil, and no, we'll never do that ever. No, it's the worst thing you've ever imagined.
It literally is. All right, I want to thank my crew, of course, Kooky Persona, who's been hanging out, organizing, and passing your calls along to us. We've also got Skuro, who helps us out on YouTube, getting everything that is streamed through Twitch over to YouTube. If you have a complaint, forward it to him, because he's the one who oversees all that. And of course, I want to thank my hosting crew, Juxtaposition, for joining in very late. Thanks for showing up, I guess, and saying like 5 things the entire fucking show.
Yeah, but they made us laugh for once.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of them did. One of them did.
That's better than normal.
Ascalia Rayumasa, Nika Kyanian, and what's your fucking name? Why am I blanking? Kalo Landis. I'm Aniero. I'm Aniero. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. This episode was produced by Aniero Grigori, Kalo Landis, Kooky Persona, and Juxtaposition. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square-Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Satori Komeji, Dark Flux, Null Packet, Shira Heartslot, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/LimitBreakRadio. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.